I just saw the Barbie movie, and I am Kenough. But clearly, many people are not. Hey everyone, my name's Christian Verstappen, and I have a lot to say about many things. I want to talk about, well, the Barbie movie. And more specifically, a review of it that good old Benny Boy did on said movie. A lot of people are going into this movie. Ben Shapiro destroys the Barbie movie for 43 minutes. As we'll get into here, he very much did not destroy it. But a lot of people are going into this movie and hearing things about this movie thinking, oh, this is anti-men, this is, all these different things, right? They hate men, this is making men look bad, all these different things. But we'll get into this more specifically as we go through the video here. But I very much believe that not only is this movie not anti-men, and it is actually very pro-men as well as being pro-women, it's a very genderless kind of film. Obviously, it centers around Barbie specifically, but the message, there were things that Barbie went through that I personally related to, and there were things that Ken was going through that I personally related to. It's not like all men are going to understand Ken's experience and all women are going to understand Barbie's experience and nobody's going to understand the other side. It's not like that at all. But there are people who are perpetuating the very cringe battle of the sexes, unfortunately, and Benny Boy happens to be one of them. So without further ado, let's get into this review.
Well, folks, I just got back from the theaters seeing Barbie and Oppenheimer. I'm about to review both of them. I'm going to tell you which one of these is the best blockbuster of 2023 and which one is maybe the worst.
I bet they loved our movie.
Full disclosure, I did not see Oppenheimer. I don't mind seeing it at some point in the future, but normally I don't even get to see movies when they're culturally relevant. I went out of my way to see this one because I wanted to see it while it was currently culturally relevant, so I'd be able to talk about, things like this, and anyway.
Right, Ken?
For those of you who can't wait that long, I'm going to give my review of the Barbie movie in the most Oppenheimer fashion.
What the Run.
Okay, so as I understand it, what that had to do with Oppenheimer must have just been that Oppenheimer, it's about a bomb. I mean, it's way more than just that, but it's about the guy, one of the main guys who orchestrated the nuclear bomb that America used on Japan, for example. Maybe that's what he was going with that fire thing. But I'm going to tell you what that type of review reminds me of. In the early to mid 2010s, it was very, very popular to take movies, video games, all these different things, and very performatively attack them like this. Everyone knew, especially, really everyone, whether you're in the Sonic community or not, everyone knew how bad Sonic 06 was. So a lot of reviewers would very performatively do this kind of thing. I'm not going to bother showing you the whole thing, but because it's at the end here.
Video. So some people were wondering.
This guy's basically crazy now. The guy that made this specifically, this is Kobanamani456. Really sad, all the stuff that happened to him and his potential victims that he had through his fan base. It's a whole mess, but we're not getting into that right now.
Some people were wondering what the special video was going to be.
So, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be smashing the disc today to just finally defeat Sonic 06 once and for all. Finally. So this is the true finale of this game. So here it is right here. Prepare to meet your doom, Sonic 06. See right here? This thing? Now you're going to hell, Sonic 06. Get ready. Here we go. There we go. Freaking thing. It's made of plastic. It's like rubber. Just
right. So people hated this game because it
oh gosh,
really destroyed the reputation that Sonic had, the kind of hanging by a thread reputation at this point. People really hated this game, and they hated it because of how glitchy it was. They hated it, the horrible story, everything about it. It was known as being a terrible game. And like, so we have this here, right? He takes a blowtorch to it. This is so performative. Oh, I'm gonna destroy this piece of plastic and fiction and stuff because I hate it that much. And I mean, he wasn't the only one. Ego Raptor from Game Grumps did it, where someone gave him a copy of Sonic 06, right? He has it here, and
yeah. Oh, it's the magic trick?
I signed it.
It's the magic trick.
Yes!
Kill it!
Yeah!
Woo! Eat it! Eat it!
Yeah, so it's just this very performative, like, this guy did it too. I don't think I even saw this one. Okay. Yeah, like, look at, I mean, it's just this very performative. This guy's literally sawing it on a sawing table. Yeah, so it just reminded me, that the way Ben does this Barbie thing just really reminded me of that. And it's childish. It's dumb. Luckily, reviewers stopped doing performative things like this. I'm very grateful for that fact. But I mean, it's just, yeah, it's extremely performative. It's really dumb. It's done to make a point, obviously, but it's just it's unnecessary. So anyway, getting into Ben's review here properly.
So the things I do for my audience, my producers dragged me to go see Barbie the movie, and
I don't believe that for a second that his producers dragged him to see it. No. I think it's way more likely that he wanted to see the movie, and he wanted to see, because he wanted to tear it apart. He wanted to, oh, it's slow, it's this, etc. So he wanted to tear it apart, and he's going to attempt to do that here. But this whole, oh, I was dragged to see it, so I didn't even want to see it. Yeah, okay.
I have thoughts. This video is sponsored by ExpressVPN. Let me begin with my generalized assessment of the movie. This movie is not just a piece of shit. This movie is a flaming piece of dog shit piled atop an entire dumpster on fire, piled atop a landfill filled with dog shit. It is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. On every possible level, it is a horrific movie. The only thing that can be said for this film is production design. The production design is really nice. The costumes are really nice. Also, it's really hard to screw that up. It's really hard to screw that up because you literally have this to model after. All you have to do is this, but big. Okay, it's really not tough. But put aside all.
No, actually, just because you have source material to work with, really good source material, doesn't mean it's impossible to mess up. We've been seeing this happen with all kind of live action interpretations of fictional characters. God, especially any type of comic characters like superheroes and stuff. It's not hard to mess up. It happens all the time. But go off, I guess. But no, 100%. The production value of this film is incredible.
All of the beautiful costumes, which is there for the ladies, and all of the production design and the Barbie universe and all of that. Every joke that happens in this film happens basically within the first 45 seconds of the film. So, for example, Barbie turns on the water and there's no water. Ooh, because, like in Barbie house, there's no actual water. Do you get it? And then she drinks, but there's no actual liquid in the actual cup. Oh my God, because she's a Barbie doll. Oh, I get it. Okay, that's all the jokes. There are no more jokes for the rest of the film.
That is completely untrue. There are several jokes throughout the show, throughout the movie. Like while they're in Barbie Land, and even when they get out of Barbie, like it's a comedy. It's filled with jokes.
The movie's a shit show. Okay, so conceptually, the movie is a shit show. I want to ask this: who's the intended audience for this film? Who's the intended audience for this film? So I'll tell you who the intended audience for this film is, and I can tell two ways: one, the previews on the film, and two, the people in the audience. So the intended audience for this film is moms and their 8-year-old daughters. That's the intended audience for the film. I know
that is not the intended audience for the film. I strongly disagree with that. No. No, the intended audience for the film, and we're going to get to this later, as how one of the main characters had Barbie as a child herself. The intended audience is like millennials and up. The intended audience is people who are now becoming moms, who have been moms for a long time. And I would say the intended audience is also very, very possibly really everybody. Because everybody, especially adults. I mean, it's a PG-13 movie. Kids can see it, but, yeah. Kids can see it with parental guidance, but it's not made for kids at all.
No, because the previews for the film were all kids' movies. I'm talking like G or PG rated kids' films. We're talking like
no, wait.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Trolls 4 or whatever.
Okay, yes, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Trolls 4 were so okay, so this is my movie experience, right? I literally just saw this today. So the previews that they showed while I was in the theater, yes, it was TMNT, Mutant Mayhem, I think it's called, and the new Trolls movie. Great, looking forward to the TMNT movie, by the way. But and but they also had Blue Beetle, which is PG-13. It's a superhero movie, but it is PG-13. And they had something else that I can't remember. I mean, there were like two others, if I remember correctly, but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. It wasn't a movie for kids, though. I know that much. I'm trying to remember what it was, though. I can't remember what the other one was, but I know it definitely wasn't for kids. Look, okay, I'm gonna make a point here, by the way, right? When I was a kid, I remember going into and seeing Iron Man back in 2008, PG-13 movie that a lot of people took their kids to see because it's a superhero, and people, even though Spider-Man and Batman and all these other superhero movies were PG-13, a lot of people thought, oh, it's going to be for kids. It wasn't for kids. It was enjoyable for kids. I enjoyed it, and many other kids did, of course. But there was a trailer for the movie. If you guys remember this movie, and I know when I say this and I talk about this, you're going to be like, really? Because it's really bad. But there was a movie for The Happening. Now, everybody knows how dumb and lame of a horror movie this was nowadays. But to my 11-year-old mind, the trailer for this movie terrified me. I remember the trailer for the movie, it was like, first they stopped talking, then they stopped moving, then they kill themselves. And it was the craziest, it terrified me. It absolutely terrified me. And yet, that was a movie that I went to that was PG-13, and they clearly had content that was not for kids.
Whatever it is. Those were all the previews, right?
Just like this movie.
All the previews are actually directed at what the audience is supposed to be for this film. And if you look in the audience, it's a bunch of moms, like youngish moms, middle-aged moms, with their 6, 7, 8-year-old girls.
So a funny point about this, by the way, I went to a cheaper movie theater at like 3 o'clock, and my theater literally had, so it was funny because I was the first one there. I was like all alone. I took the middle seat because I was like all alone. And then some other people came in. Yeah, they were women, but then more people started trickling in more and more. And one of the things that I had was legitimately a group of dudes, and I could hear them and the way they talked, the way they sounded. They definitely sounded like dude bro kind of people, and they were so they enjoyed the movie so much because it was funny. I constantly heard them laughing behind me. There were two couples, but understand, I went to this on a Saturday afternoon at a cheap theater a week after opening weekend. So it wasn't like I went during the height of it or anything. And yet, it was still a relatively diverse audience that it had. First time I've ever been to a theater myself, by the way. I asked some friends if they wanted to see it. Some of my friends had already seen it, and one of them was busy. So, anyway, it is what it is.
That's the entire crew. This movie is not made for any of those people. In fact, this movie is made for no one. This movie is going to make a bunch of money week one because the marketing effort has been extraordinary. I mean, whoever's the marketing...
The market, yes, the marketing has been extraordinary, 100%.
Team over at Warner Brothers is doing an amazing job. Week one, this thing is going to clean up at the domestic box office. My prediction is going to just absolutely fall off a cliff after that. The repeat business on this movie is going to be non-existent because it was written by two people who are so smug and self-satisfied, in Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, that they have no audience. I mean,
Okay, let's check that out real quick. Yeah, Barbie breaks Warner Bros. Box office records, surpassing The Dark Knight and Aquaman. What is it currently at? $107 million. Oh, wait. Where does it have? Hmm. Yeah, the movie's doing incredibly well, and I'm sure will continue to. Yeah, parties toward 1 billion worldwide. Yeah.
Who thought it's a great idea? Let's bring on the people who wrote Lady Bird and Marriage Story to make a movie about a.
By the way, wait, let's say that again.
Who thought it's a great idea? Let's bring on the people who wrote Lady Bird.
I don't know. I've never even heard of these movies before. Well, I knew Marriage Story. I never heard of Lady Bird. I actually added it to my watch list now. And
Marriage Story to make a movie.
Marriage Story, I haven't seen it yet, but I've seen clips. I can't say much for it except the acting is incredible. I saw that scene where Adam Driver's character and Scarlett Johansson's character are having a fight, probably over their divorce, and oh my god, like it is like you really feel like you're watching two people actually have a marriage dispute. It is incredible.
Movie about a plastic doll that is generally played with by 5 to 9-year-old young girls. So the basic idea of the film, they really have no basic idea of the film. They don't know whether they hate Barbie or that we're supposed to kind of like Barbie. It seems they kind of despise Barbie as a fascist emblem, as we'll get to. The basic sort of premise of the film, politically speaking, is that...
Wait, what? No, this movie was made with so much love. This movie was made with the amount of love for Barbie as the Mario movie was made for the love, or with the love of Mario. That is an insane take, Ben. What are you talking about?
Men and women are on two sides of a divide, and they hate each other. And literally the only way you can have a happy...
No, they don't. The men are just kind of like there, but they're not really like present. They're not hated, but they're just like they're not really involved in anything.
World is
so far as what we see in the film, at least.
If the women ignore the men and the men ignore the women, that seems...
They don't exactly ignore each. It's not exactly that they ignore each other. It's more like okay, so we open the film by seeing Margot Robbie literally plays what's called stereotypical stereotypical Barbie. And she wakes up and there's this cute little song playing about how great her life is and all these different things, right? And she's waving to all the other Barbies. She's going about her day. She's driving her car that doesn't actually have gasoline because, they're all in a dollhouse. And yes, they do make the jokes like she showers without water coming out. She does she like brushes her teeth without, actual toothpaste. She drinks from a cup that doesn't actually have liquid in it, and so on and so forth, because they're toys. The whole point is a little bit like Toy Story, where they're toys that are being played with, and what they do in this world is representative of how the person that's playing with them is, which comes into importance later. But anyway, when we finally see the men, we see the Kens and Alan. We see them, and they're all on a beach, they're all chilling, and they're all kind of just doing their thing. They're kind of set dressing, which a lot of times women are, especially in media, movies and stuff like that. You'll get sexy women, and they'll just be kind of like in the background as just something pretty to look at. And I don't really have anything wrong with women or men being that way occasionally. I think generally speaking, though, it is, it's better for them to have actual character, but that's besides the point. And we see how much it's not that they hate each other. It's just that Barbie, like all the Barbies, they live in their Barbie dream houses and stuff. And then Ken, we don't really know where the Kens live. There's even a point where after Ken and all the Kens, from what I understand, go to Barbie's party, which she seems to have every day, Ken asks if he can stay over. And there's a joke. One of the jokes that's passed when Ben said jokes stop. There's a joke where he's like, "Oh, can I come over? Can I stay the night?" She's like, "And do what?" And he's like, "I don't know," because they don't really have sexual organs or anything else like that, which is shown later as the not shown. It's discussed later as the movie progresses too. But I mean, the whole joke, right, is that they are dolls in this world, and the reason that all of that is important is this is setting up for the major juxtaposition we're going to have later. But we'll get to that.
Seems to be the final outcome of this film. I was trying to separate this into problems with plot and problems with character and problems with the politics of the film, but they're all intertwined because the thing is just a mess. It doesn't make any sense. Plot-wise,
it absolutely makes, it has a through line. It literally has an introduction, a plot. I'm not remembering all the literary pieces, but it's like has a rising action, falling climax, falling action, a resolution. It has everything. Like, it is not hard to follow. Yeah.
It makes no sense. Character-wise, it makes no sense. So let's just go through it from the beginning. There's going to be lots of spoilers, but believe you me, I'm about to save you so much time because this movie is 2 hours. It feels like it is longer than the Wagnerian ring cycle. It does not end.
What now? Whatever.
Every scene is at least 2 minutes too long. Every single scene, every beat is 2 minutes too long. It is a bad film. Put aside the politics.
No, it's not. It was incredibly well paced, I think, as well. And pacing is extremely important to me. I can't deal with like shonen anime because of the pacing. It takes forever for anything to happen in those things. I might be able to deal with it if I'm like watching it on my own and I can fast forward through the shit. Like if I'm watching Dragon Ball and it's taking Goku 3 minutes to charge up. If I can like skip that because I'm watching it on my own, maybe I can handle that. But I cannot watch that shit like in its entirety on TV and stuff growing up. I did not have the attention span for that kind of shit.
Like, really, I was sitting there with a bunch of my producers. I'm a little bit more political than my producers. My producers were watching this.
Wait, you work for the Daily Wire, Ben. Wouldn't your producers and yourself all be kind of equally political? Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe they just kind of run things, and Ben has his like, he gives his takes, and everyone else just runs the show. I don't know.
Putting the politics aside, it is a bad movie. So why is it getting 91% on Rotten Tomatoes? Because the way that it works for the reviewers is if you have the right politics, and those politics are sufficiently slyly inserted, then it will get a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's not sly at all. There is literally one of the big moments in the film is that the mother gives an entire speech about feminism and women empowerment to, well, Margot's Bobby, to stereotypical Barbie. And then she continues, you see her giving that same speech again, although fragments of it, to other Barbies. This is not subtle at all, but it doesn't need to be. It's Barbie. Like, it's not going to be subtle. Barbie's about as subtle as a brick as is. Why should the messaging be subtle? But the thing is, too, it's not subtle, but I wouldn't say it's preachy either. Because it doesn't, like, make you feel bad. We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Tomatoes, even if the thing is just dreck. And I mean, boy, is this dreck. This is a Death Star-sized piece of dreck. It is like, that's no moon. That's a dreck station. That this movie. Okay, so let's jump into it. I have like pages and pages of notes on this horrific piece of I mean, my goodness. Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. So it's from the beginning, you know what this movie is going to be, and it's going to be a very cynical take on what Barbie is, which is so...
So this is a very performative thing, too. Notice he says he has pages and pages, but he really just has some words scribbled. Here, wait, let me... He just kind of has some words scribbled here, and... he's only going to be on that one page forever. So just keep that in mind when he's like, pages and pages.
Weird. I don't know why.
You know, I do like the nice little dream house with Barbie here in the background. That's cute. It's a nice little set design.
Mattel would turn over its IP to filmmakers who clearly hate the IP. It's as though you were going to make Toy Story, except that toys are all evil. They're all bad, and you're supposed to hate them, and you should burn them.
No, you literally opened this with burning Barbie, first of all. But no, you are not supposed to just hate the characters. It's the exact opposite. In fact, there isn't a single character in the entire film. There's an antagonist, but there's not a villain. Every single character in this film, none of them are the bad guy. There is not a single character I went away from this film disliking, or that I think that any audience would come away disliking. All of the characters, in some way or another, are good. Not that they're perfect and they never do anything wrong and they're good the whole way through, but they're well-meaning, they make mistakes, but we all do. We're humans. Ironic considering they're dolls, but well, like I said, we'll get to it.
Because that's kind of the message of the film, is that the Barbies are bad for the world. Okay, so it begins.
No, that's not if anything, the message is the Barbies are good for the world. What are you talking? Okay.
By trying to uphold the original vision of Barbie. What was the original magical vision of Barbie? We have Helen Mirren here to tell us in the form of a narrator apparently played by Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who's speaking from heaven. And we get a 2001 A Space Odyssey flashback, which again...
What? No, oh my god, no, there's a character in it named Ruth, but it's not Ruth Bader Ginsburg. All right. Avoiding the politics, and yet we're going to make it all political. All right, dude.
Who's the audience for this? Right, the reference points in this film, it references variously Marcel Proust. It references Robert Evans and the cinematography of The Godfather. It references 2001 A Space Odyssey. This is a movie made for moms and their 7-year-old girls.
No, it's not.
Well, folks, wasting 2 hours of my precious time, 2 hours I will never get back, 2 hours on my deathbed I will wish that I had not spent that time doing, makes me viscerally angry. But I'm going to talk to you about something that makes me much happier, and that is our trusted president.
Oh god, he's doing a fucking sponsor. All right, look, people got to make their money. I get it, you know. It is what it is. But are we here?
Okay, so
Sweet.
It starts with Helen Mirren explaining that back in the day, girls would only play with...
By the way, just to be clear, if I can get away with it, if I ever have sponsors, which I'm sure eventually I will, I really want to do, if they'll let me, I don't know if there's like a thing in contracts where they don't let YouTubers do this, but I really want to put a timestamp like in the description and a chapter so you guys can see, here's where the ad is, here's where it ends, you know, because like, I know no one wants to sit through that shit.
Dolls.
But we got to make our money, you know?
Dolls that look like babies. And then she says that this could be fun, at least for a while anyway. Ask your mother, because your mother actually hates you and doesn't like being a mom.
No, it's not. These people cannot do media analysis or nuance to save their life. No. Oh my god, the point is not that being a mother is terrible and your mother hates you. No, when they say ask your mother, what they mean is it's not all sunshine and roses. Yes, being a mother, being a parent can be extremely rewarding and just such a great experience. But there are negatives too. It's not perfect. It isn't this like you have a child and then everything's just perfect all the time. No, there's all kind of issues. And it's just, the idea is that women for the longest time, their only type of doll, their only plaything that they could have as a girl growing up were baby dolls. And still, most toys geared toward girls, geared toward little girls growing up, is teaching them how to either be a mother or how to be pretty. Now, are either of those things necessarily bad? Absolutely not. In fact, I think it would be good to have toys for little boys that taught them how to be attractive men and how to be fathers as well. But we don't have that because motherhood is so valued to a kind of creepy extent, and yet fatherhood is just like, whatever. It's like, I mean, people literally talk about fathers with their own children as if they're babysitting their kid. It's their fucking child. It's not babysitting. That's them being a father. You know what I mean? Anyway, the point is, all they had was all little girls had were baby dolls. And if any girl wanted to maybe not be a mother or just aspire to be anything else outside of a mother, they didn't really have anything for that. And then Barbie comes along and changes all that. And they even get into the film once they introduce stereotypical Barbie. They say, yes, so this is Barbie, but then so is this, and so is this. And they have all these different races and types, and they show like Barbie in a wheelchair. They show a pregnant Barbie, which, by the way, Midge pregnant Barbie, we might get into later. No, we won't. I'll just talk about her now. She was discontinued. And the reason she was discontinued is because it caused outrage. Here, let me see. I'm actually going to I'm going to go ahead and find it here for you. So the pregnant Midge Barbie was discontinued because Let me see if we have the... Okay. Because she has a kid. She's pregnant. Well, this is her... Wait, she's pregnant and she has the... Okay, whatever. And it was a bad thing because she was pregnant, but she wasn't married. She didn't have a wedding ring. So it was pulled from shelves. You gotta understand, like, the time that Midge Barbie was... When was it created? 88. Reintroduced in 88. But when was it originally? 63. Yeah. So there was this whole thing where it was like, oh, yeah, they believe. Oh, also she was too young to have children. Okay, so there you go. Yeah.
So if you ask your mom, she wants to play at not being a mom sometimes. Okay, so the basic premise is Barbie.
Yes, women are more than just baby factories. Why is that a complicated? Yes, women can want more than to just raise a child. Yes. Yeah, so anyway, so the idea, right, is that Barbie comes along, and then there are all these different versions of Barbies, which is inspirational because these little girls get to see, oh my god, here's this woman character, Barbie. She's a doctor, she's a lawyer, she's a nurse, she's a construction worker, she's this, she's that, she's da-da-da-da-da. She's all these different things that men are. I can be that too. I can be a rock star, I can be an actor, I can be a... I'm sure at some point, maybe now they'll have like streamer Barbie or YouTuber Barbie or something, I don't know. But like Congresswoman Barbie, like all the President Barbie, all these different things. And it's this inspirational thing. It's incredible. It really is. But it's not all, sunshine and roses there either. We'll get to it.
Is supposed to be the independent woman who liberates all womanhood. But she fails. And she fails for two reasons. One, she's actually a tool of the patriarchal capitalist system. And two, the real world has rejected the message of Barbie, which is that women should run everything. Okay, so this is all not implicit. This is
okay, so fun fact, and we'll get to this later, I think, but hang on.
Has rejected the message of Barbie.
Okay, so first of all, no. There's a character, and I think we'll get into it later here. This character here, who is the mom's daughter, that'll make sense when we get to the mom later. But this character, she calls Barbie a fascist, as we'll get to later. But I actually really like the way that they did that because she is the woke school. She is extremely cringe, and she's like, "Oh, you're fascist. You reinforce beauty standards. You da 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 da." Which Barbie responds with, "Well, I am stereotypical Barbie." So I really like that. But I like, too, that, and this is part of this kid's character arc. I don't remember the kid's name, but this is part of the kid's character arc, where they start by saying, oh, Barbie's a fascist, Barbie's this, Barbie's that, all these different things. And yet, I didn't mean to do that. And yet, by the end of the film, she has a very different view on the character. Also, I don't know if this is true or not, but I was told by a friend of mine that these four characters are actually supposed to be and are based on and named after the Bratz. Like the Bratz. These things. So that's interesting if that's true. But, yeah.
Should run everything. Okay, so this is all not implicit. This is explicitly said at the beginning, the monologue.
Yes, it is, because that character is like a very woke, scoldy, annoying brat, but it's part of her character arc. God, this is like when people complain about a character. This is like watching... Okay, we'll go back to Iron Man. This is like watching Iron Man and being like, well, he's such a terrible, womanizing, alcoholic, shitty human being. Yes, that's his character. And his character arc is changing from that shitty person into a much better person. Just like with this character, oh, well, well, she's not on screen anymore, but the character that Ben's complaining about, yes, she starts as an annoying brat, but she's a kid. I don't know what to tell you, but kids can be really annoying and really harsh. I mean, and I really like too that they go on and say that Barbie is not attractive because, I mean, Margot Robbie, literally one of the most beautiful women in entertainment right now, and you're gonna tell her she's not beautiful? Yeah. So like, I like that. It kids can be really, really harsh, really cruel, and sometimes just lying about it too.
Monologue, you have Helen Mirren saying, because Barbie can be
Right.
any. This is all not implicit. This is explicitly said at the beginning. The monologue, you have Helen Mirren saying, because Barbie can be anything, women can be anything. At least that's what the Barbies think. See, in the real world, women can't be anything. That's one of the messages of the film. In the real world, men run pretty much everything, which is weird. Who greenlit this piece of shit? I mean, Greta Gerwig is a lady. She's making a good living off of this. Margot Robbie is playing the lead. In fact, the entire cast, aside from basically Ryan Gosling, is women. So it seems like women are.
Whoa, wait! Not aside from Ryan Gosling. There's plenty of men in it. The main characters are women because it's Barbie. But okay. Also, the message isn't that women can't actually be anything. The message is just like, it's not. Oh my god! It's not that women. It's not that women can't be anything. It's that, you know what? I'm gonna let it continue, and we'll get into it more in depth here in a minute.
Are doing okay. But again, put aside the meta logic of it. I'm going to go through like a lot of beats here. So it starts off with the idea that mommy dolls are bad and insufficient. But then they criticize Mattel for discontinuing a
Not bad and insufficient, just you don't. There's more to being a woman, more to being a person than being a parent. And we put this expectation on women from the time that they're little girls that motherhood is like the best thing ever. And it's not. Being a parent, and look, I say this as somebody who's you know, I don't want kids myself, but being a parent to me and to many people is not the best thing in the world. It's great for people that want a child, but not everybody does. And people that do, they don't want their entire existence, their entire identity to be based around caring for a child. There's so much more, even to women that are mothers, there's so much more to mothers than the fact that they're a mother.
mommy doll named Midge. Right? Midge is the pregnant doll and it was discontinued. They're like, that's
I
bad.
talked about that already.
But hold on, you just said that dolls about motherhood are bad, but then this one, don't look for any sort of logical coherence. There's a Citizens United reference. They say all of the members of the Barbie Supreme Court are women. And then they are speaking out about Citizens United, that corporations are not people. It's literally a Citizens United reference. Who is the audience for this? Who is the 7-year-old girl who's like, yes, I do have a very informed perspective on the Citizens United decision. And then they say that
I don't actually know what Citizens United is.
logic and feeling at the same time, it doesn't diminish us. It proves that we are more than, right?
Actually, wait, maybe I do. Maybe I just don't know the name. What is Citizens? What is it? Oh, a conservative. Ben, you should love this. It's conservative. 501 nonprofit organization in the United States, founded in 1988. In 2010, the organization won a U.S. Supreme Court case known as Citizens. Okay, what does that mean? Which struck down as unconstitutional a federal law prohibiting corporations and unions from making expenditures in connection with what so this. Okay, they're just women on a Supreme Court, dude. I don't know how you got Citizens United out of that, but apparently they're conservative, so sounds like you should love them.
It's all propagandistic. And then it sets up the dichotomy. The dichotomy is that men and women are in complete and utter contradistinction in terms of their roles. So,
first of all, just say contradiction. They're in contradict. Okay. Also, no, they're not. What? They're not in. Does he mean in the real world or in? He's talking the real. Is he?
men and women are in complete and utter contradistinction in terms of their roles. So women only exist if they are completely free of men, and men only exist if they are completely free of women. And
No, that is not the message of this film at all. The message, okay, for people that say, like, oh, this movie hates men, no, it doesn't. This movie loves men, it loves women, it loves everybody. I would say this movie is very much my brand of feminism. It is ultimately egalitarian. It acknowledges that there are issues with women and men, and that ultimately this is the result of the patriarchy. The battle of the sexes and all that bullshit is ultimately due to the patriarchy, which we'll get into it later here, but we'll find that Ken first finds out about and loves because he only understands the aspect about it that benefits men. They don't really get into how it hurts men too much. And they don't really get into how it hurts women. They just kind of brainwash them and are extremely subservient. But we'll get into it all later here.
problem for Ken, the problem is set up for Ken, is that Ken is dependent on Barbie. Right? Because
Ben is well, Ben might be too, but Ken is a simp. The whole point of Ken's character, and I you know what, here we're gonna go back to that. And I really like how they do this because Ken's entire character, this scene just like shows it amazingly. Because Ken's leaning in for a kiss, and Barbie's like, "Okay, you can go home now. Like, I don't, you know." And the whole point is that Ken is defining himself based on his relationship with Barbie. He really, really, really wants to be with her. She doesn't really want to be with him. And I really like the direction that they took with this, which we'll get into when we get to the end here. But yeah, I will just keep in mind I really like the direction they took. But I mean, Ken is essentially, man, I don't know if I'd even want to say he's like friend zone. He's more like, I mean, maybe, I don't know. He wants to be with Barbie, but not because he really likes her. He wants to be with her because he thinks that she completes him, because he's, you know, literally Barbie and Ken, right? But we'll see how that plays out more later. But Ken is a simp, 100%. Oh,
Ken is dependent on Barbie, right? Because Ken is kind of secondary. And we also set up at the very beginning that Barbie doesn't like Ken. She finds Ken annoying. She finds Ken ridiculous, which, again, is sort of against the concept of Ken and Barbie.
well, no, she just kind of views Ken as, like, he's there, but he's not. She doesn't hold any special feelings for him one way or the other. She doesn't hate him. She doesn't love him. She's more ambivalent toward him. I don't even know if I'd say they're friends. They're possibly acquaintances. I don't know.
But the basic idea is that Barbie is an independent woman and Ken is completely superfluous. We then go to the beach, and there's a scene on the beach where...
Well, that's because, and they make jokes about this, the Mattel, as we'll find later, make jokes about this. Nobody cares about Ken. Nobody cares about, like, the Ken doll. They just don't. Like, you hear Barbie, you know what Barbie is. Who the fuck knows what Ken is? Maybe Ken from Street Fighter? But no one's gonna think, like, Ken and Barbie, unless you say Ken doll, you know? Maybe, but...
the Kens are supposed to be the lifeguards and the ladies are playing on the beach. And we get a series of gay masturbation jokes. Again, there's an audience for children. They're talking...
Okay, first of all, not for children. Secondly, even if it was, having that, like, kind of sneaky, like, adult humor is fine. You know, as long as you're not super overt about it. But the joke is, they're on a beach, and the guys are saying, like, "Oh, I'll beat you up. No, I'll beat you up." And you know, it's kind of like beat, like, you know, well, it's not beat like a fight. It's more like, it's beach, because they are beach, like Beach Ken. Not lifeguard Ken, as they'll get into later, but just Beach Ken. His job is beach. It's great. It's a good joke. One of the many jokes that Ben seems to have missed because it wasn't in the first 5 minutes.
Talking about beaching each other off. right? There's a
Yeah, instead of beat it. Yeah.
line where Ken says to another one of the Kens, "I'm going to beat you off." Get it? Get it? You get it? Because like beat you off, but beat you off, and then they repeat that no less than 4 or 5 times in the span of 45 seconds.
If I wasn't severely injured, I would beat you off right now, Ken. I'll beat you off with you any day, Ken.
Anyone who wants to beat him off has to beat me off first.
I will beat both of you off at the same time.
Beat both of us off?
Nobody's gonna beat anyone off.
Bazinga.
Because it's just such a great gay masturbation joke. You got to go for it. I mean, what else will the 7-year-old girls in the audience think if you don't go for the gay masturbation joke?
It's not made for kids. You dumbass.
The beach. Clearly. We get black female President Barbie because this is, of course, the greatest of all possible worlds. So Kamala Harris is.
She looks nothing. She looks. Wait.
Clearly. We get.
She looks nothing like Kamala Harris. What is your. Just because she's black and she's a political figure. Oh, Kamala Harris. No. Looks nothing like Kamala Harris. And yeah, she's black and she's a president. I didn't even notice this. We have an here, wait, let me see if you can. We have a amputee prosthetic arm Barbie too. That's actually really cool. I like subtle things like this when it comes to representation, by the way, because what you're doing here is you're showing none of this is weird. You don't call attention to it, you just do it. It's all normal. It's fine. I like that.
Black female President Barbie because this is, of course, the greatest of all possible worlds. So Kamala Harris, the Barbie version, is the president of the United States. And then we get the break, right? Then we get the actual plot point. Plot point number 1. Barbie has irrepressible...
Also, you can tell it's not Kamala Harris because she's not wearing a brown suit.
...thoughts of death. So again, at this point, you might be thinking to yourself, wait a second, isn't this a kid's movie? Isn't this supposed to...
No, it's not a kid. It's PG. Ben and anybody else that would actually think... Come on. Where's like the... There we go. I'm so... Okay, good. IMDb actually allows that now. Okay. Okay, PG-13, for suggestive references and brief language. Suggestive references would be things like the beat you off. Brief language would be beat you off, in fact. References to the fact that they don't actually have genitals. They have blobs under their shorts and their pants. Suggestive language. Ben,
to be made for
not made for children.
7-year-old girls? Nope. It's about existential angst over...
Angst. It's pronounced angst. Hi, I'm Ong. Jesus fucking Christ. M. Night Shyamalan, Avatar, all over again.
Mortality.
Or Last Airbender.
That's what this film is about. Now, again, interlaced through all of this is just more and more and more politics, right? One of the Barbies is a trans Barbie, and this is treated totally normally.
Yes, because
all of this,
for one, it is totally normal, and for another, look at this woman. You wouldn't really know. I mean, you can kind of pick up a little bit, I guess, that she's trans, but like, she is incredibly passing. She's gorgeous for one, and nobody makes a big deal about it because it doesn't fucking matter.
Barbies is a trans Barbie, and this is treated totally normally, as though this is a female Barbie.
It is a female Barbie. They don't even have genitals, Ben. They don't even have... Okay.
A voice, again, deeper than my own. So Barbie starts to...
Wait. A voice deeper than... Ben, did you really just say...
A female Barbie with a voice, again, deeper than my own?
First of all, no, her voice is definitely not deeper than his. However, Ben, the way you talk so high up in your fucking nasal register, everybody's voice is deeper than yours, bro.
So Barbie starts to have these irrepressible thoughts of death. And this comes along with physical symptoms. Like, for example, her feet flatten out. Again, this is one of the few cute jokes in the movie, is that Barbie walks around, and just like a normal Barbie doll, when you take off the shoes, the feet are shaped like the shoe, like the high heel. But now she is turning into like a real world person, and so her feet collapse, right? And so
That's not even what the scream sounded like. You just did that to be a transphobic asshole. Which, to be fair, was probably not Ben that did that, but his editors at least.
she goes to see Weird Barbie. So Weird Barbie is a Barbie that has been played with too hard and has all the knowledge, not only about Barbie Land, but also about the real world. And apparently there's a connection between the people playing with the Barbies and the Barbies. So if people playing with Barbies are sad, then the Barbies also get sad. Weird that this has only happened to Barbie, because it turns out that lots of people are sad and played with Barbies for a very long time. But That's the plot point. Fine. And again, the concept of like a Barbie that was played with too hard is very funny because everybody has seen that before. And they somehow blow this. Somehow they make this into a not funny thing. So Weird Barbie is ugly and she has bad makeup and all the rest of it. And she informs Barbie she has to go to the real world and she has to find the person who is playing with her and she has to make that person feel better because that will heal the problem that she's having in Barbie Land. Okay, so we have our plot point, right? We have the thing that's going to launch us off into the rest of the movie. And then it's just a complete mess from here on in. At least to this point, it's kind of dumb but coherent. From here on in, it makes no sense at all. Again,
No. Oh, by the way, a really, really good moment that he didn't go over at all, had amazing choreography, amazing set dressing, amazing everything, was when they're all dancing at Barbie's party in, like, I guess at the end of the first, well, it's still the first act, whatever. And they're playing Dance the Night Away by Dua Lipa, who, by the way, is a mermaid Barbie in this movie. And it's really good. Like, I mean, it's a really good dance number. A really, really good dance number. Like, I can't even... It's incredible. And I'm not even that big on that kind of stuff, but it is incredible.
Kate McKinnon sets up the dichotomy that pretty much the makers of the film hate Barbie by suggesting that you can live in Fantasyland with Barbie and you can take the Barbie shoe, or you can take Birkenstocks, right?
No, it's...
You can become like a Portland lesbian.
Okay, actually, I really like the way they did
Suggesting
this.
that you can live in Fantasyland with Barbie and you can take the Barbie shoe, or you can take
Okay, so this was a really good subversion of expectations because you have Weird Barbie, played by Kate McKinnon, where... I love it. It's the classic, like, okay, like you give the hero a choice. You choose... It's kind of like the red pill and blue pill from Matrix, right? You can take the Barbie shoe and go back to Dreamland and just, like, you know, go back to your normal life, or you can take the Birkenstock and figure out what's really going on here and set off on your journey. And Barbie's like, okay, I'm going to take the Barbie shoe. And she's like, wait, what? No, you're supposed to take the Birkenstock. She's like, yeah, but I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I want to go back and just, like, live in blissful ignorance. And she's like, okay, you're taking the shoe. You're taking the Birkenstock. You're going on this adventure. I'm just trying to give you the illusion of choice. And I really like the way they did that. Again, another joke that Ben must have clearly missed because it wasn't in the first 2 minutes.
Birkenstocks, right? You can become...
Oh, by the way, there's a really good bit. I mentioned how in the first part, you have Barbie, she's waking up, she's all, you know, she's doing her thing, she's getting ready for the day, all you know, whatever. And, like, and it's this, like, really happy, like, music and stuff where she's, like, you know, doing, it's called, like, here, wait, let me see if I can find... Barbie Pink song. Is it by Pink? No. Barbie movie? Oh, it's by Lizzo. Oh, okay. It's a really good... Here, let's do lyrics. Yeah. Okay. So, this is... God damn it. Okay. So this is really good because verse 1, we have this whole thing where she's like, I wake up, you know, she's so thrilled. I'm getting out of bed, wave to my homegirls and all that stuff, in pink, you know, whatever. And then while they're, like, you know, and then we have, like, second verse, she's all, you know, chill and everything, right? It's all really happy and cool and, you know, pink. It's where is it? Oh, where's the thing that pink stands for? Pretty, intelligent, never sad. K, cool. Wait, where's the... Oh, maybe it's a reprise? Oh, Bad Day. Okay. And then we have this... Okay, so there are two separate songs. Okay. So then we have the second song, because when she's at her party and they're playing Dance the Night Away and all that, there's this part where Barbara's like, hey, have any of you been... she's like, hey, have any of you ever... God damn it, I can't... She's like, hey, have any of you ever thought about death? And I was like, what? What's wrong with you? And she's like, I mean, I'm... Or no, anybody thought about dying? She's like, I mean, I'm dying to dance. And then the, like, music starts up again and everything. So then, while she's going through this existential crisis, you have the juxtaposition where she's waking up again and everything, but the sad, bad version of this song is playing, where we have this whole thing where, like, hey, you're stressed, all these different things. B, P, panic. I, I'm scared. N, nauseous. K, death. Because she's just having this existential crisis. And it's incredible. I really liked the way they did that juxtaposition. And man, the juxtaposition in general with this movie is just incredible. We'll get to the juxtaposition between Barbie Land and the real world later, but it's so good. It's so good.
A Portland lesbian, and you can learn about reality. That's going to be the choice that you have to make, but not before she makes a joke about Ken and wanting to see the nude blob he is packing under those pants.
That's somebody said that?
Perfect for 8.
By the way, oh my god, it's not for fucking kids, Ben! By the way, just real quick on this, this is something I'm gonna do, like, my own video, maybe multiple on. I kind of talked about this before with, like, women in comics, but I really do think that men and women both should be, not all the time, but generally should be sexualized both in media and in real life, because it helps, for one thing, it helps show people what to be if they want to attract that kind of attention, right? Like, women know how to attract men's attention because examples of it are everywhere, but we don't really have many examples of men attracting women's attention in ways that would actually attract their attention, like, being in shape, dressing nice, all these different things. I'm like, but I mean, and again, this is something I'll touch on later, but people that think like, oh, men sexualize women all the time, have you heard women talk about men, especially celebrities? Because, again, I'm going to do multiple videos on this kind of thing, I'm sure, but I like that line of, oh, I'd love to see what blob he has, because that's a subtle thing that, maybe subtle's not the right word, but that's like a, cheeky way of, sexualizing Ken. And I like it. I think the same joke could be made about a Barbie or any of the characters like that. But, and by the way, that is one point I will give to this mentality that, like, the worlds are reversed kind of thing. And we'll get into that later too. But yeah, no, I like that kind of joke, and I think there should be more of those toward men in general, and that men should be more sexualized in media. But again, that is a whole other thing, and I don't think women shouldn't, like, I don't think it's that women should not be sexualized. I think it's that men and women should both be sexualized, both in media and in real life. But again, I'll have whole other videos on that topic. But anyway,
8-year-old girls, ladies, mothers, just be warned. Ken and Barbie head off to the real world to try to find the person who's playing with Barbie. And
so this is a really good element of visual storytelling here. Let's see here. So we have this. So Ken's in the back seat, and he freaks out Barbie at first, and he's, oh, can I come? She's like, yeah, sure, I guess, whatever. And because she wanted to set off on it alone. But what we have here is, this is a really good piece of visual storytelling where the whole time that they're going through these transition scenes to get to the real world, Barbie is like so like confident and in control, and she's got it. And then Ken is like hanging on for his life. He's trying to get back on this thing. This point is, this is okay, and this is, but yeah, I like it.
Barbie. And immediately upon arriving in the real world, Barbie is hit with an overwhelming tsunami of sexism. Like, right away, boom, she walks in, and a bunch of men just leer at her and say, "Give us a smile, blondie," which is something that no one under the age of 70 has said to a woman in the recent past.
Okay, so first of all, it's meant to be like, hey, here's the like really overly cartoony world of Barbie, and here's the real world. Also, it's overly cartoony as well. But so let's have. By the way, the reason
Blondie.
I would say that people are staring at them is because, can we look what they're wearing? Anybody would stare at either of them because they have these like garishly bright outfits on. Now, it is true that, yeah, that one guy says, oh, give me a smile, blondie. And it's true that, yeah, like, most people don't actually talk like that. But the point is, it's an over-exaggeration. That's the whole point. Now, I will say it's a bit over the top, but it's supposed to be.
which is something that no one.
And then Ken, by the way, he's just thrilled that people are acknowledging his existence, because people basically don't acknowledge his existence at all in Barbie Land. And now people are at least acknowledging him.
The age of 70 has said to a woman in the recent past, give us a smile, Blondie. Seriously? We get Barbie explaining that all of the men who are leering at her and gazing at her, they have an undertone of violence. Everything's she's threatened. She's physically threatened, because this is the real world. The real world is not like Barbie Land.
I really like this part, by the way.
In the real world, undertone of violence.
So, yeah, I'm not sure I get the undertone of violence part, but I really like this part. This guy comes up to her and just completely unprompted smacks her ass. And she, understandably, turns around, punches him. I mean, yeah, I really like this bit. She doesn't understand what's going on. She just, hey, as far as she's concerned, she was just attacked, assaulted, and she was. And so she turns around to defend herself. That's good. That makes sense. But, yeah, no, I mean, yeah.
Barbie Land. In the real world, all women are victims. They are deep and abiding victims of the system, as we'll learn by the use of the word patriarchy no less than 10 times.
Not all. No, it's a classic. It's a fish out of water kind of story. Not at one point do they paint this narrative that all women are this way. Plenty of women who are used to living in the real world don't act like they're victims all the time. They just act like regular people because they're regular people. It's only Barbie who's completely like awestruck by all this because she's not used to this stuff.
In this film, she gets arrested like twice for various crimes. Even the police officers are rabid, raging sexists. The police officers are hitting on Barbie. They're making observations about her appearance. Ken, meanwhile, is getting super happy because Ken, who's been sort of an underling in Barbie Land, now he's realizing he's part of the patriarchy, and the patriarchy is awesome. Ken is loving the patriarchy. Now, you might imagine at this point that the way the film is going to go is that Ken and Barbie are going to have some sort of agreement about seeing each other as equal human beings. You might imagine that's where it's wrong. That's not where the film is going to go.
It kind of does, actually, but I'll go off, I guess.
I might have thought that what you were going to get was Ken gets treated with respect as a person, and Barbie gets treated with respect as a person, and that's a better. Nope, wrong. In the end, not to skip ahead, Barbie Land just gets restored, and the men are still subservient. That's the best. That's the best version of the world.
Not. No, it's really not. All right, look. If he's gonna skip ahead, I'm gonna skip ahead. No, the movie ends with the women do take back their political power. And the men come up and they're like, hey, can we have some power too? And they're like, sure. Yeah, they're like, oh, can we have a seat on the Supreme Court? And they're like, no, but you can have like an under like whatever it's called. And they're like, okay, we'll take it. And they do make a joke about how, we'll make things completely equal here when they're completely equal in the real world. And I will say, in regards to this notion that Barbie Land is like flipped, like a flipped version of the real world, I disagree with that, largely because the men are still simps. Really just that one Ken is like a major simp, but if it was really supposed to, so okay, in the real world, generally speaking, men have political and economic power, but women have more social power, right? This is why, and a lot of this is because men are either simps, white knights, or, well, those are the two main things that a lot of men are. They're simps or they're white knights. The reason women are given so much of the benefit of the doubt and treated with so much deference and stuff like that by men is because they want a shot at her. Like, oh, your boyfriend's such an asshole. Yeah, I'll be there for you, wanting to swoop in and take her away. This kind of, it's the reason that like women get free drinks. It's the reason that bars and clubs are way more interested in women being there than men, because with, hot women, of course, comes men with money. And they are going to spend money on those hot women, generally speaking, at least. And yeah, so like you have a ton of things like that. But so there's a lot of things like that. With how the real world works in general. And if you wanted to do a flip of that and have where like, okay, so now the Kens are going to do all this stuff, I would be more like inclined to buy into that aspect. But it's a 2.5 hour movie. It's not going to be able to go into everything. And what it does go through and what it sets up really well is really good. But it's definitely not a perfect movie. I quite enjoyed it, as you're hopefully seeing here and as we'll continue. But, I do have some, notes and critiques, if you will.
Okay, so Ken is walking around and he's really enjoying the patriarchy and all this. And he explains that men rule this world. And he goes to...
Well, he's learning... Yeah, he learns that men rule this world because, like, there's a scene where he sees men on dollar bills. He sees men just, like, in general. He sees men in sports and movies and all this stuff. And he sees men everywhere. And he realizes, oh my god, men rule here. This is incredible. And he learns about patriarchy and all this stuff, yeah.
Mattel and all the members of the board are men. By the way, I'd like to see a corporate breakdown of the Mattel board. I'll bet I can find it. Like the CEO of Mattel for 30 years was a woman. So there's that. They pretend that like Mattel is all run by men. So now I want to know who's on the board. Okay, chairman CEO is a dude. The board includes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It includes 5 women. So it's 6 men and 5 women. Clearly patriarchal domination.
But that's done. It's done in like a cartoony way to make a point. It's not meant to be. Do you think Will Ferrell runs the company? It's not meant to be literal.
Just wanted to look that up just for the sake of accuracy. Whenever I do these reviews, like, oh, you're taking the movie too seriously. The movie takes itself too seriously, guys. It pretends to be a comedy, but it's taking itself super seriously.
Wait, it doesn't take. I mean, it has serious moments, but even comedy movies do. What? Okay.
So it's all men at the top of Mattel, and they realize that Barbie and Ken have escaped Barbie Land. And this presents some sort of threat. What kind of threat? Because the writers are shitty. They don't bother explaining. They're just like, a threat. And Will Ferrell acts all weird and goofy. Like,
wait. No. That's not true. It's understood before Barbie even leaves that because of everything she's going through, there's basically a tear in the dimensions of the real world and Barbie Land. And if she doesn't fix this, the world is gonna just be destroyed. And I don't remember the specifics, but the board members basically realize that too. And they want Barbie to get back in a Barbie box, so that she can be like shipped back out and go back into Barbie Land naturally and stuff. But yeah.
Ferrell, and he's funny because it's Will Ferrell acting weird and goofy, but he's not funny because it's just Will.
By the way, this has to be one of the best, I would say, live action cartoons, if you get what I mean by that I've ever seen.
Will Ferrell with no actual plot or dialogue to speak of, just being weird.
First of all, what an image to pause on. First of all, he absolutely has dialogue. He's not the main character. He's just a guy. He's a secondary character. He's just a dude that's there to like chase Barbie around and try to get her back to Barbie Land, which she does go back to Barbie, and he follows her. So it's kind of like, why? She's already where you want her to be, but whatever.
We'll fill that in later. There's so many places in the script where it's basically like the writers they left a gap and they're like, we'll leave a couple asterisks, we'll fill it in later, and then later they got there and they're like, nah, we'll just skip right over it. Fine. So they figured they got to track down Barbie and Ken. Okay, meanwhile, Barbie is trying to track down the girl who's playing with her, and she mistakenly thinks that it is a teenage girl who is playing with her and who is unhappy. And at this point, she receives a lecture from the teenage girl about how Barbie has ruined the world and actually is fascist. How Barbie is a sexualized capitalistic emblem.
I mentioned this.
How Barbie has created unattainable feminine ideals. How Barbie is ruining the planet with rampant consumerism. You get like this full lecture right in the middle of the film. It's truly awful. It's truly awful. She's called a fascist. By the way,
it's meant to be. She's an annoying, bitchy woke scold. That's the point. Her character arc is learning to understand things with nuance. She's a bitchy woke scold. That's her point. She's an annoying kid. That's the point. She's like, I am 14 and this is deep. She thinks she has everything figured out, but she's just a kid. A lot of kids are like that, Ben.
It only sets up the only good line of the film, truly, in my opinion. There's one good line in the film, and that is where Barbie is trying to contemplate whether she's a fascist or not, and she says, I don't control the railways or the flow of commerce. Now, there's only one problem with that line, as with the entire movie. There is no character consistency. Barbie is supposed to be an idiot bubblehead piece of plastic from Barbie Land. How does she know what a fascist is?
Whoa, wait. No. Not at one point do they show her as an... There's a point where one of those girls, one of the brats, calls her a bimbo, but not at any point does anybody else call her, like, bimbo or anything else or implies that she's dumb. Not at all. What are you talking about, Ben?
How does she know about the flow of commerce? Like, again, just in terms of...
It's a joke for the audience. Oh my god. Okay.
Character consistency, like characters who actually are the characters, makes no sense whatsoever. So, meanwhile, Ken is wandering around, enjoying the patriarchy more and more and more, and he keeps asking men about the patriarchy. And at one point, he asks a dude about the patriarchy, and the guy says, well, that's not really the way that it works here anymore. He says, really? He says, no, it still works that way. We just hide it really well. Again, you can't even present the mild other side of the film. And this sort of nonsense continues.
Wait, they do. The entire point is okay.
Third of the film is about how Mattel is kind of bad for creating this fancy land. Second third of the film is about the real world evils of the patriarchy. Oh, the patriarchy. Oh,
right, Mattel's not bad for creating Barbie land. Oh, I know, patriarchy. The word triggers you, doesn't it?
Oh, the patriarchy. Culminating in an idiotic line where one of the low-level members of Mattel is with the board, and Barbie is looking for a woman at the board, and the low-level man says, I'm a man with no power. Does that make me a woman?
That was a good joke. No,
you can't parallel park. That's what makes you a woman. Okay? And in any case.
So, the sexist joke that they made in the movie to highlight the sexism, that's not funny. But Ben thinks, no, you're a woman because you can't parallel park. So, one sexist joke made to poke fun at sexism, that's not funny, but an actual sexist joke, that's funny. In the eyes of Ben. Okay, great.
We get here a few obscure jokes about Proust Barbie, because again, Noah Baumbach has to show that he wrote some of the script. He made a reference to Proust. Doesn't that make him clever? Ooh. Next, you will make
I don't know what he's talking about here. I don't remember a reference to Proust, but I don't know what that means.
Reference, I would assume, to Victor Hugo. Wow. Proust. Woo. Idiots who think they're smart. It's total. Okay, then Barbie escapes the Mattel building. They were going to package her up and they were going to send her back to Barbie Land. And she instead runs and she escapes the Mattel building. And she hooks up with America Ferrera. So America...
Don't say hooks up. All right, maybe it's just me, but like when I hear someone hooks up with someone, to me that means sex. Like I hook up. Maybe it's just a way that things have changed these days. But like, if you say somebody hooks up with someone, that does not mean they just like get together and like they hang out or they join on an adventure. No, like hook up to me at least explicitly means sex. So just at least he didn't say it was with the kid. At least he didn't say that.
Ferrera is the actual one who's playing with Barbie as a youth, and it's her daughter who Barbie had originally approached. Twist!
Yeah, that was a really good twist, actually.
Okay, and she decides that in order to escape the Mattel executives, she's going to have to bring both of them back to Barbie Land. Why should she bring both of them back to Barbie Land? No one knows. There's no actual, there's no explanation as to why she's supposed to bring both of them back to Barbie Land. Supposedly, it's because she needs to escape back to Barbie Land, but she could do that without the two of them. But she decides she's going to bring them back. So she brings them back to Barbie Land.
No, it's to fix Barbie Land. Because, okay, actually, I don't know. If I remember correctly, Margot basically just invites the two along with them. She's like, hey, you want to go to... And they're like, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't really know if there's like an explicit reason as to why she brings them with her. Maybe I missed that. Might be my bad.
Meanwhile, the Mattel executives are chasing her. Now, question, why are they chasing her? They achieved their goal. Barbie is back in Barbie Land.
No, I agree with that. That's what I pointed out. Yeah, it doesn't really make sense that they're still chasing her.
Why are they still chasing her? No one knows. It doesn't make any sense. They literally say, there will be consequences you can't even imagine. And then they're like, what consequences? And they're like, fill in the blank. And some dude says something about a podcast with two trees. You're like, that's the laziest shitty writing. God bless it. Okay, anyway. So Ken, in the meantime, he's already headed, while she was, futzing around over at Mattel, Ken has already headed back to Barbie Land, where he has immediately established the patriarchy. So just to point out here, the point of the film is that the matriarchy is amazing. Women are amazing at everything. Ken walks in, and within 2 seconds, he has taken over all of Barbie Land, and he has turned it into
Wait, the point of the film is not that women are amazing at everything.
the Kendom. Within 2 seconds. It's apparently the women are so unbelievably competent and brilliant and great at everything over in Barbie Land that
Actually, it's Kendom Land, by the way, as Ken even points out.
an idiot man walks in and takes over the whole place inside of 2 seconds. Fine. So he takes over the entire place. We later learn that's because the women, they didn't know what was coming. We later learned they didn't have immunity. And the way that they get immunity is by learning to hate the men. That's the way.
That is not the... No. No, if anything, they learn to empathize with the men and the way that they've been... There is a point with Margot Robbie talking to Ryan Gosling, Barbie talking to Ken, where she acknowledges, okay, yeah, I acted like you didn't exist. I'm sorry. I didn't realize the pain that was causing you. I'm really sorry about that. What's the... Like, her and the other Barbies acknowledge, okay, things aren't exactly perfect here either. Maybe we should do more to treat Ken like actual people. And some of the Kens, like, I mean, there's nothing explicitly like said about it, but it's pretty well implied that some of the Kens actually end up getting together with some of the Barbies. It's clear they're gonna like start dating and stuff like that. And some are just friends, and they're treating each other as equals and stuff like that. Okay. It is not... It's empathizing with each other. That's why I say this movie is extremely egalitarian. I love it.
to learn to hate men. Okay, so Ken decides he's going to go back and he's going to establish his patriarchal system. We only learn this when Barbie heads back with America Ferrera and Randall.
Oh, he did actually flip a page.
And Ken immediately starts acting like the jerks in the patriarchy, right? He calls her baby. Oh, no. He calls her baby. The greatest of all insults. He calls her baby.
No, he calls her... I can't... Baby something. I can't remember what it is. But, she gets mad because, like... He did it in a way... He did it in a way that was, like, intentionally... derogatory. Like, there's a difference between calling your partner, like, babe or baby or something versus whatever, babe. You know what I mean? Like, that kind of thing. It was that kind of thing, right?
Baby. And then America Ferrera is trying to explain to Barbie what exactly is going on. And she's like, it's just like the indigenous people and smallpox. They had no immunity. Howard Zinn wrote the script. So the ladies in Barbie Land had no immunity to the magic of the patriarchy, the magic. The women were seduced into... So, just to point out here, the actual argument the movie is making is that if women enjoy men, it's because they have been brainwashed by the patriarchy. They make this message explicit.
No, it's not that if they enjoy men. It's... Okay. So once Ken established the patriarchy, he took these women who were used to, like, being all these incredible things, like there were, women doc... One of the great jokes, actually, by the way, because you see women at work, you see construction workers who are women. And Barbie actually comes and meets some construction workers in the real world, and this is where she's, like, really catcalled, and one of the dudes smacks her ass. She's like, oh, some construction workers, finally, some decent women to talk to. And the whole point is that Barbies are not... Let me figure out the right way to phrase this. The whole point with that is that when the Kens show up, and they even say this in the film. Oh, hey, it's, the Kens, told us, it's like a vacation for our brain. It's so much easier. I don't have to do all this work and everything. I can just, I'd much rather just, like, stand around giving you, like, snacks and beers and stuff. And I want to be clear about this. If you enjoy being submissive in a relationship, whether you're a man, a woman, whatever your gender is, whatever your sexuality is, that is fine. The important thing is that you understand that concept. You understand that you're being submissive in that way. They didn't understand this. They didn't understand any of this. That's why they were brainwashed. Because you had characters like one of the ones who earlier was accepting an award for being an incredible writer, goes on and is like, "Oh, I don't even know how to write. I've never written anything before." It's like, yeah, you do. You were a writer, so like, yeah. So they're brainwashed by the patriarchy. But again, bro, it's comedic, it's cartoony, and it's played up for dramatic effect. It's not meant to be like super serious.
Just a few minutes in the film. And when I say a few minutes, I mean several years, because this film took years off my life. It is long.
And there are I can't think of any off the top of my head. I'm sure like Fairly Odd Parents and other things have done this, but like there are plenty of like kid cartoons and adult cartoons and such where a character has Back to the Future did this, and it wasn't even it wasn't like an immediate thing, but that concept where one character, the antagonist, finds out about this other way to make the world, goes to their world and makes the world that way, and then the protagonist has to come back and fix it, hopefully making it better as well.
Long, it is boring, and it's terrible. Okay, so the Ken.
That's how Ben's wife describes their sex. I mean, literally, this man has said before that if a woman is wet, that's a medical condition.
Are about to perform. None of this makes any damn sense. Okay, the Kens are about to have a vote to change the Constitution. Why? Why? Ken literally just sees power. He's a fascist. What the f*** is he gonna vote for? Why are they voting? Like,
gee, Ben, I don't know, member of the Republican Party who's clearly trying to instill fascism by working within the system. Why would you possibly want people to vote on us? I love that he is going to act like this doesn't make any sense because it's what his party is doing to try and gain power. Why would they vote? Why would they ever want to work within the Democratic Party system? Not the Democratic Party, but like the democratic system in order to instill fascism. I have no idea. Ben says with a halo, and I have no idea how that's crazy. That would never happen in real life. Pay no attention as the Supreme Court is literally demolishing, especially women's rights, but just rights of people in general, because of him and people that believe things that he does. Pay no attention to that. It's completely unrealistic.
He sees power. Also, what is the breakdown demographically of the Kens and the Barbies? Are there as many Kens as Barbies? Because why would they hold a vote? The Kens appear to be in a minority in Barbie land. There are a lot more Barbies than Kens.
Oh, man, he is just... Yeah, dude. Just like Khan's here. Why would they ever? I can't imagine. That's so unrealistic.
So if that's the case, why even do the democratic vote thing? Why not just seize the power? Because then you wouldn't have the rest of the dumb plot of this stupid film. So they decide they're going to hold the vote. And not only are they going to hold the vote, they're going to be very fair about it. They're going to hold it in 48 hours. They're going to hold it in a couple of days to make sure that the Barbies have time to actually form a counter plan. Why would they do that? No reason. Asterisk, we'll fill it in later. Okay, so they decide they're going to hold this dumbass vote. And the Barbies learn about this, and Barbie is very depressed because Barbie realizes that all the other Barbies have been taken in by the patriarchy, and this is extremely bad. Now, here's one place where you have a serious...
That's not why Barbie's depressed. Barbie's depressed, and by the way, the acting moments of Margot Robbie, where she did the doll-like things, like how she stepped out of the heels and kept the heel pose, how she has a couple moments where her legs are just completely straight, and she does that really well. Things like that. But she's not depressed just because of that. She's depressed because, again, she's having an existential moment. And she's depressed because, like, this is all her fault. She's having a typical the heroes failed moment before they get, like, picked up and encouraged and all that stuff. But she hasn't had that moment yet. This is a very common writing thing in the hero's journey. Like, what are you on about, Ben? What are you crying about?
Continuity area of the film. So, Margot Robbie, who plays Barbie at the beginning, half the time she plays Barbie is kind of stiff like it all, and half the time she plays Barbie is just kind of normal. And so now she plays it super stiff like it all. She sits down,
Do you understand why?
In kind of 90-degree position like a Barbie would, and she keels over in the 90-degree position. And it would be funny, except she hasn't been doing it the whole film. Again,
oh my fucking god, you missed the point. He missed the fucking point. It's a visual representation. Maybe that's not the right word. Visual explanation, visual something. It's there's a rule in making films which is show don't tell. They don't tell you. I mean, they do in the beginning when she's getting like looked at by a doctor, why she's like this, why she's having her whole like why she's stiff and stuff. When she has these moments of existential crisis and all these different things, she is becoming more doll-like in that world, and she's becoming more stiff and all these things because it just relates to her, like what she's going through mentally and stuff. By the way, Ben completely skipped over what the real twist was, which was that the reason Barbie's having all this shit happening to her in Barbie Land is because the mom, played by America, the mom took her daughter's old Barbie and kept playing with it. And she's an adult, and she's like, you know, playing with it in a way, right? And so she like drew these like different versions of Barbie. She's like, oh, here's like depressed Barbie, existential dread Barbie, fear of death Barbie, like all these different things. And that's why because Barbie has been getting played with by this person who is going through all this, having this like crisis happen. And that's the point. That's why she's like this. Because of the mother, America.
The level of inconsistency and bad filmmaking here is just off the chart. They needed somebody to actually sit down with them and be an adult in the room, and no one was there.
Should they have been a man by any chance, Ben? Should it have been you?
So, at this point, America Ferrera and daughter decide they've given up on Barbie because Barbie won't fight for herself. And so they take off. And Michael Cera, for no reason, is in this film. And he's in the back of the car, and we don't know why.
Yeah. Actually, so Michael Cera's character, he plays the character of Alan, who was designed as Ken's friend. And by the way, I will point out this is another instance in which where we have a redheaded dude being the kind of like doofy, butt of the joke kind of character. No one really cares about him that much, but you know, it is what it is.
Confused about that.
Played by Michael Cera. I was going to say Scott Pilgrim. I couldn't remember what else he played. Michael Cera, that's his name.
And he serves no purpose other than to have a random fight scene. And also so that they can make a Trump building the wall reference.
Wait, he doesn't have a... He's barely even in that fight scene. Oh, right, the fight scene at the wall. I mean, okay, yeah, sure.
Right? They're apparently the Kens are going to build a wall to keep people from getting in or getting out. Now, here's the weird part. No one has ever entered or exited Barbie Land before. Why are you building a wall? What is the necessity for a wall? No one explains. It's just a dumb Trump reference so that everybody who is friends with Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig can laugh and nod.
It's not a Trump reference. At least not only a Trump reference. It is the Wall of China, the Berlin Wall. These are two other examples of walls like this that prevent, well, the Wall of China doesn't prevent people from getting out per se, but especially the Berlin Wall literally kept people and split families apart. It kept people from being able to see each other that they cared about because of that wall. It's more of a reference to that than anything else, but it's just a wall. It's just a wall. And the joke isn't even like, oh, they're going to make Barbies pay for it. No, the joke is they just keep building it up. Once they figure out how to build it to the side as well, we're fucked. There's no getting out.
Like the morons they are. And so the daughter and the mom, they decide, no, we have to go back and we have to save Barbie Land. They're going to save Barbie Land. And who do they go to? They go to wise, weird lesbian Barbie. They go back.
What makes you think she's lesbian? Nothing, I mean, she could be, but nothing about her character has indicated. She didn't say she was lesbian. What are you... There was never any, like, she looked over at a girl lustfully. Like, nothing. What do you... Why do you think she's lesbian? Where does that come from? I'm sorry. This is a nitpick, but like, why are you whatever? What? All right.
To Kate McKinnon, and they ask her about this, and they bring Barbie with them, and they're going to try to figure out a strategy. How do they stop the Kens from winning the vote? Now, you might say to yourself, wait, aren't the women majority? Do they not have agency, the women? They have no agency, apparently. So apparently the women have no agency, and they are a majority. And yet,
I love how he acts like what the Kens are politically doing in this movie is not the same thing that his party is trying to do. It's amazing how he has to act like he has this cognitive dissonance where I don't understand why they would ever want to do that. They're the minority. Don't the majority have power?
yet they have to be deprogrammed. They're going to be deprogrammed by Weird Barbie and her crazy cadre of feminist heroes.
No, they're deprogrammed by the mom, the human that comes in and says, hey, you can be more than this.
I love you guys.
And this is when we start getting into the real. You think it's propagandistic so far? Oh man, wait. Here's where we get into like the real meat of it. Okay, so we end up with Barbie complaining. She's complaining to Weird Barbie. And she says, oh my God, they've brainwashed all the other Barbies. They've brainwashed all the other Barbies. She says, quote, either you're brainwashed or you're weird and ugly. There is no in between. And Weird Barbie says, tell me about it. And this is the perspective of the film. Either you're a third wave feminist kook who hates men, like truly hates men, or you're brainwashed.
Hi, Barbie.
Hi, Ken.
There's no in between. There's no actual relationship between men and women. There can't be any sort of fulfilling relationship between men and women. There are no decent males in the entire film. All the men are garbage. The only man who even
That is not true.
appears mildly is America Ferrer's husband, who's just kind of a joke. He's there for literally 10 seconds in the film making jokes about how he can't speak Spanish. That's his whole role in the film. Every other man is a piece of shit in the film. Everyone. And so this is the perspective of the film when you come right down to it. Either you are brainwashed or you are weird and ugly. And Barbie's like, yeah, that's what Barbie says. I mean, the only
So, okay, let's unpack that line because that's actually a really powerful line and I like it a lot. What it means is that either you don't get to be yourself or you are yourself, but because that doesn't meet the standards of other people, you are weird and ugly by their standards. Now, there's nothing wrong with aspiring to conventional beauty standards. I doing that myself. Many people do that, right? To aspire to be and want to be conventionally attractive, nothing wrong with that. There is a level where you want to keep true to yourself at the same time. But it's not even about that specifically. It's like women who speak up, women who believe in things, women who go outside of the boundaries are labeled as weird and ugly. And this is one of the things where I say it's not just a woman issue. I found myself relating a lot to Barbie as well as Ken. Because that concept of like, if you try to be yourself, society will reject you. But if you're accepted by society, in order to be accepted, you have to reject yourself. Which is not like what do you choose? You know, when you have those two options, right? So the whole point of her character here and this moment which leads into this like incredible speech is that Barbie and women and people in general who dare to be different are often shunned by society. And there's this whole concept that basically you can never be right. You're always wrong. And I get that. Even as a man, I get that. Like, I'm a cis hetero man, and I relate to that. This idea that anything you think, anything you say, anything you do, you're always wrong no matter what. Why? Because you're you. It's like you have a target on your back, and just everything that you say and do how to kill a bug. Everything that you say and do is wrong. And it feels like you're just destined to be wrong. Because you're you. You don't get to be right. Your place in this world is being incorrect. You don't get to be correct. And in the case of Barbie, and in the case of gender inequality in general, that is the result of the patriarchy. Now, the matriarchy that Barbie Land has isn't great either. It's a matriarchy. You know, matriarchy is not good, a patriarchy isn't good. Ultimately, we need egalitarianism, which I very much believe this movie is incredibly egalitarian, and we will get to that as we continue the film here.
The only decent male is Alan, who apparently wants to wear pink, and
Alan is not the only decent male. But he does side with the Barbies, because he doesn't want to deal with the Ken's bullshit.
probably is supposed to be gay. I mean, I think it's
He might be. That is true. He very well could be.
supposed to be pretty clear from the film. Although, really, the take of the film is that all the Kens are gay. That's really the take of the film, is that it's all homoerotic kind of stuff.
Let's beach off.
Anyone who wants to beach him off has to beach me off first.
I will beach both of you off at the same time.
And
No, you know what? I'm going to push back on this. I think, if anything, their closeness and they're able to be closeness, and they're like the way they wear their shirts all the time and stuff, always like showing off their chests and their muscles and all that. I would say that, and I approve of this, that is the male equivalent of how women act and present in the real world. You know, you always have women being so close to each other, and you know, like women will share, some guys will do this too, but like women will share clothes and stuff, and women will just completely change in front of each other naked sometimes. You know, women will do all kind of different things. I'm generalizing here, but we're speaking in generalities. You know, women will do all kind of different things and just be like super close. You know, they can hug and someone, you know, kiss each other on the cheek and stuff, and it's totally fine. You know, all this stuff, and they can have these like, you know, borderline lesbian moments, and it's totally fine. But yeah, and I would say that if anything, that's kind of more like what this is with the Kens.
in any case, the filmmakers are so insecure with even their own script that they then have the narrator jet in to say, Margot Robbie might not be the best person to make this point, right? Because Barbie's saying, I don't feel beautiful anymore. And they're like, Margot Robbie. They literally jet in to say, Margot Robbie may not be the best person to make this point. Then maybe you shouldn't have written the point.
No, that's the joke. The joke is, okay, Ben, you have a wife. And to the audience in general, have you ever had a moment where your partner, wife, girlfriend, whatever she is just absolutely gorgeous? Like, you look at her and you're just like, damn, this woman's so beautiful. I love her so much. And yet, she doesn't feel beautiful. Like, have you ever had your partner say, like, I don't feel beautiful, I don't feel hot, I don't feel sexy? And you're like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Are you blind? You're fucking gorgeous. Yeah. People, even if they are something, don't necessarily feel like they are that thing. Margot Robbie is undoubtedly fucking gorgeous. She's playing stereotypical Barbie. But even a woman who looks stereotypically attractive, like a stereotypical Barbie, like Margot Robbie, can have moments where they don't feel beautiful. Yes, she is beautiful, but she can have moments where she doesn't feel beautiful, and that's the important part. Women, beautiful, gorgeous women, always have moments where they don't feel beautiful. Attractive men have moments where they don't feel attractive. It happens to people. But the joke is, yeah, we understand Margot Robbie's hot as hell. Maybe not the best person to make this point, but we're making it anyway. In fact, I would argue she is the perfect person to make that point because of how beautiful she is.
Then maybe you shouldn't write it like that. Maybe you should not be a writer. Maybe you could do that. Okay, no. Okay, this is when we get the full bore thesis of the film. And guess what, guys? The thesis of the film, made by women, made for women, made starring women, funded by a studio that is largely staffed by men. The take of the film is that it is impossible to be a woman in the modern age. Absolutely impossible. And so we get this long speech of America Ferrera talking about how it's so difficult to be a woman. They want us to be this way, but not that way. They want us to be thin, but they don't want us to say that we're thin. They want us to earn money, but they don't want us to earn money. They want us to do this, and they don't want us to do that. They want us to answer for men's bad behavior, but they don't want us to offend men. They want us to do this, and they don't want us... Oh my God, it's so difficult to be a woman. So the same...
So the reason you have these contradictions, by the way, is because of feminism and because progress takes time. They want us to have money, but they don't want us to have money. Understand that a lot of the times, these are different people. There are men that don't want women to have money, and there are men that do want women to have money. Rarely, though, are they the same man. But these contradictory statements occur because of the patriarchy, and because feminism is, compared to the patriarchy, a newer concept that takes time. Progress takes time. It just does. See, men want you, or at least I can speak for myself in this regard, but many men want you to be able to, take care of yourself and things like that. But, well, for one, a lot of men they feel threatened if a woman makes more than them. But also, there are a lot of women who still want men that make more than them. Even if they're making gangbusters. They still want a man who makes more. And it's like, what the fuck? It's like, we want you to have these things, but we also want you to be a suitable partner. And you can have both of those. Those don't have to be contradictory. But if you're going to have the mindset, so it's like when, and this isn't the point the film makes, but this is the point I'm making. When you're challenging things like gender roles, you have to challenge it from both sides. Like, okay, women should make their own money, girl boss, all that shit, whatever, great. But now, don't put it on men to have to always make more money or always pay for the date or any of those things. If you want equality, you have to take all of the equality. I'm not saying men still can't or shouldn't hold doors open or pull out chairs or any shit like that. That's fine. But what you can't do is say, okay, we're going to have all this equality, but then we still want you to do all these other things that still make us unequal. It's like, okay, then that's not equality. It's also not equality to just flip the script, which is what some radical feminists want, which is insane. But it's like, no, it's true. I talk about also a lot how cringe slut shaming is, and how I think that slut praising is the way forward. We want women to be, generally speaking, I definitely do, and many men do, want women to be promiscuous, slutty with us. A lot of men have the cognitive dissonance, though, to not want them to be that way with other people. Now, I understand that women have a past. I have a past. Everybody has a past. And unless we're in a committed monogamous relationship together, I don't really care if you're hooking up with other people. As long as you're being safe, we're good. But a lot of people will want women to be a certain way, like that, but not be that way with other people. And the thing is, that very contradictory statement and idea, it's like the Madonna whore complex, is absolutely wild. It's like you want women to be this chaste virgin Madonnas, but then when you're with them, you expect them to just be a slut for you all of a sudden. And that's just not going to happen. I mean, it can, but generally speaking, you have to work that out. And when you tell women specifically, for so long, it's just hammered into them that sex is bad and women shouldn't be this and women shouldn't be that and da da da. And then that woman gets married, or she even just starts dating, and her partner wants her to be all these like slutty things for him, she isn't going to do that, and she's going to have like such an aversion to that stuff. And I mean, sometimes people like completely turn away from them, like, yeah, like let's do this, but it depends, right? Obviously on the person. But no, it's just like, yeah, people hold a lot of these contradictory statements, and it just doesn't make sense to me. It never, and to me, slut shaming is the biggest example, because it just doesn't make sense how you would want to have an easier time with hooking up with women or dating women or whatever, but then when they do that with other people, you get mad, or you shame them for even hooking up with or dating you. And then it's like, what? It just doesn't make sense to me. It never did. It never did. Never will.
Tried, truistic bullshit that they've been propagating in every new wave feminist film for the last 45 years in the United States is now essentially telescoped into this one speech from America Ferrera, including a few cutaway shots of Margot Robbie looking up adoringly at America Ferrera as she explains that it's super hard to be a woman. It's so...
All of the women do, by the way, look at her adoringly, because she's giving a heartfelt, impactful speech.
Damn difficult to be a woman. You know why? Because of the patriarchy. Because of the men.
Yes, and it's hard to be a man because of the patriarchy too. Because what a lot of people don't talk about with the patriarchy is that, like, it's only the men that fit that role, that mold of the power that the patriarchy gives, that benefit from it. But there's a reason there's a lot of dudes right now struggling to find relationships. There's a reason there's a lot of dudes right now. There's a reason that suicide is extremely high among men. There's reason for all these things. And yes, it is ultimately the patriarchy that causes these issues with, between genders and stuff. There's reason incels are such a problem. There's like all of this. It's because of the patriarchy, 100%. It's not that all men benefit under the patriarchy. And women perpetuate the patriarchy. 100% they do. Women perpetuate toxic masculinity. When you have a man, for example, who hears the message of, okay, I need to open up, I need to be honest, like all these different things, right? And they try being those things, and then the woman does things like they throw it back in their face, which a lot of women will do, or they, like in an argument or something, right? Or you will have that thing where you'll have like the nice guy, and let's say they actually are nice, but they see that the women that they're attracted to are always going for the bad boys. Yeah, you're going to have that resentment, and you're going to have them getting the lesson, okay, if I want to actually have relationships with these kind of women, I need to be what they like. And what they like clearly is the bad boy. Not realizing, of course, that it's not the bad boy aspect that they like, but it's the confidence, it's the assertiveness, it's the, generally bad boys are, physically attractive too. So being in shape and all that stuff is important. But, it's all these other aspects that you can take and you can apply to yourself without taking the toxic aspects. Same thing with femininity and submissiveness. If you want to be submissive, if you want to be those things, that's fine. If you want to be like whatever, that's fine. But like, there's a thing of toxic femininity, the cattiness, the not, saying like how you really feel, and then going behind people's back and gossiping, all that shit. Like, that is extreme toxic femininity, and it is extremely common. I've seen it with a lot of women in my life. So it's not this like men against women thing. It's the patriarchy is hurting men and women both in different ways. And I'll be real, it would be better if they actually showed toxic masculinity and toxic femininity. But again, it's not interested in going into like the specifics. It's more like just addressing the concept as a whole.
That's the actual story of the film. And then they make a couple of other dumb references, right? The Zack Snyder cut. The men, they like the Zack Snyder cut. Wow, that's terrible. Okay, fine. Then they say,
okay. the Zack Snyder cut thing specifically was more because there were a ton of men specifically that were obsessed with the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League and Zack Snyder specifically, and this like anti woke thing, and it was a whole met. You know what? Here, let me just yeah. Oh, that's good. But the Tabernacle, where is it? Huh. Okay, I'm not seeing it now. But the Tabernacle did a good video on. Did I spell it right? Yeah. Oh, the Tabernacle did a good video about like why these guys love Zack Snyder so much. But it looks like he also did a video on Zack Snyder calling out geeks and gamers and anti-SJW for spreading hate on their own. That's good. I like that. I like that. Yeah. Oops.
The patriarchy. How are we going to do this? Wow, that's terrible. Okay, fine. Then they say, you know what we need to do? We need to disabuse all of these Barbies of the patriarchy. How are we going to do this? We need to allow them to live with the cognitive dissonance required to be a woman under the patriarchy. That's a line from Barbie. Now again, they keep doing this. They keep having Barbie drop these extremely literate and well-articulated lines, but she's supposed to be a plastic doll idiot.
Authority should derive from the consent of the governed, not from the threat of force.
It doesn't matter. What is their actual strategy? So they have 48 hours to stop this vote, which shouldn't be happening in the first place because it makes no plot.
Wait, you literally just showed a moment from Toy Story where Barbie was also very articulate and intelligent. That just disproves your point, bro. All right.
Sense, because the men are fascists and the women are victims. But
no, that is not.
Now they've been given 48 hours to stop the vote. So what are they going to do to stop this vote? How are they going to do it? Well, they're going to separate the men and the women.
Barbie!
They're going to turn all the Barbies against the Kens. It's so subtle. The symbolism is so subtle.
No, you even have in this shot.
Barbie!
They're going to turn all the Barbies against the Kens.
No, they're turning the Kens against each other. This is the shot right here where they're fighting over Barbies. Because there's this moment where it's so funny because they have basically all the Kens are on dates with Barbies, and all the Barbies leave like each other to go and like flirt with other Kens. And first of all, that's just rude. Like that's just wrong. You know what I mean? Like first, because the guys are they're all like playing songs for the women and stuff. And they're playing this song that's actually about subjugating them. Really weird. It's a song that's about like I would push you around and shit like that. And at first I thought it was like Face Down by Red Jumpsuit Apparatus or something like that, but that's not what it is. They do have a song by Third Eye Blind that they play later or earlier in the movie. But yeah, I don't know. It's anyway, so yeah, the Kens get jealous and then they start fighting other Kens for their Barbies, which is yeah, accurate. Like men fight over women all the time. It's dumb because like real quick on that note, by the way, guys, if your girl leaves you for another dude, he did you a favor. She was never your girl in the first place. So like let her go and move on, you know? Especially like if your girl like cheats, especially if she cheats on you, don't ever get mad at her at him. Get mad at her. He might not have even known. But, you know, he didn't take your girl. She chose to leave you. So find somebody else who won't leave you. Simple as that.
So subtle. The symbolism is so subtle. Turn all the women against the men and you will save society.
Nope, it's not turning women against men.
That's the message that you could be shoveling directly into the brain of your 8-year-old girl.
And it's not a movie for kids.
If you so choose this weekend.
Maximum volume.
So, they literally say this, get the Barbies away from their Kens. How are they going to achieve this? Well, they're going to make the men complacent and then take their power. This is how women have achieved power. Now, let me just digress briefly here in how women actually achieved power in Western civilization. The answer is they lobbied men and men gave it to them. That is the actual answer as to how women achieved power in Western civilization. The amendment to the Constitution that allowed women to vote was passed solely by men because women couldn't vote. It turns out there are a lot of good-hearted men out there who like women and who want women to be able to live lives that they want. It turns out that many of us are husbands and fathers. Many of us have daughters. Many of us love the people we're married to. It turns out that that actually describes a huge number of Western men, that we are not your enemies.
Okay. This is tough because he's kind of right, but let me explain. Okay. So, I think I've talked about this before. If not, I definitely will in the future, I'm sure. But, okay. Men, when there are people in power, the people who are not in power need to reach the people in power and basically convince them and help them to give them power. This happened with women and men. This happened with slavery and abolitionists. And when I say give power, what I mean is more like this is why I really hate the narrative of it's not my job to educate you, because yes, it is. Who else are people going to learn it from? So if you are somebody in power and you know somebody who is disempowered in whatever way you know them, or you see their struggle, you have the ability to give them power, to make it so that they are no longer oppressed, or at least not as oppressed, or something of that nature. So he's correct to an extent, but also no. They weren't lobbying to get power. It was more like you said, men knew other women and they realized, hey, you guys should have the ability to vote. Let's make it happen. So, it is true that yes, the people in power have to give power to the powerless. Like, okay, here's another example, right? Largely, it was straight people that voted. Well, actually, it wasn't, because it was a Supreme Court thing. Never mind. I was going to say about gay marriage, but nope. Wow. Yeah, Supreme Court just kind of throws a wrench in that. But generally speaking, people who are currently in power give other people power. That is the way it works. He is correct on that. But let's continue.
And yet the entire premise of the movie is that what actually happened in the feminist movement is that women seized the power away from the men.
No.
I'm sorry to break it to you, ladies. It ain't true. It ain't true. This notion that women vote as a block is not true. Married women vote very much like their husbands, actually. Single women vote more like a block now than they did before. But it turns out that people are individuals, and some women vote one way and some men vote another way. But again, the idea here is very simplistic. Men versus women. Battle royale. And that's what this literally turns into, a battle royale between the women and the men. But really, it's about getting the men to fight each other. They bring all the Barbies one by one. They distract them. They bring the Barbies in one by one. And they unbrainwash them. How do they unbrainwash them? Well, they tell them truths like, any power you have must be masked under a giggle. I have a question. I mean, I work with a lot of women. Do they feel like the power that they have has to be masked under a giggle? Was this film written in 1943?
No, what it means is like, you can't be like too, No, I'm getting tired here, to be honest with you.
Who wrote this film? Well, we know who wrote this film. A feminist writer who gets paid millions of dollars to make horse. One of them says, we have to reject men's advances without damaging their ego. Or theoretically, you could just reject men's advances and damage their ego because what do you care? You have to.
No. Generally speaking, when women damage men's ego, they are oftentimes in a life or death situation. Not always, but oftentimes. And there are plenty of women that damage men's ego while rejecting them. And it is not great. Yeah, you shouldn't be a dick when you reject somebody. Like, you just shouldn't. Yeah. Just let them know you're not interested. You don't have to be a dick. You don't have to, throw your drink on them or make a scene or, yeah, you just, hey, not interested. Now, if they keep pestering, which is a lot of times how that ends up happening, that's a different story.
Pretend to be confused about money. Is this a real thing? Like, do women pretend to be confused about money so the men?
Yes, women often pretend to be confused about all sorts of dumb shit so that men will help them. And to be fair, that's a flirting tactic, right? Like, oh, I can't reach this. Oh, I can't. Can you explain this to me? Like, that's like a, it's a flirting tactic, Like, women are very capable, but oftentimes they'll act incapable as a way to get men's attention.
Will explain it to them. That this is also it's such a claptrap. And then my very favorite. Do you want some pants? Because that's really what this is about. Is women really want to wear pants? That demonstrates the power of the patriarchy is that men really don't want women to wear pants, and women really want to wear pants.
Love your leg warmers.
Nice ass cut.
And then it's all the men being victimized, all the Kens being victimized by these various tactics, up to and including Ryan Gosling hitting on a trans woman, meaning a dude who has a voice deeper than Ryan Gosling's, which is an actor.
First of all, no, her voice is not deeper. Secondly, yeah, she's pretty cute. I can't blame him.
Scene in the film, which is just great.
By the way, that is good representation. By the way, Ryan Gosling, this very attractive dude hitting on a trans woman. Yeah, that's good. It's good shit.
Okay, so then final step. Finally, the women have been disabused. So now they're going to play the ultimate prank. The ultimate prank is that they are going to turn the men against each other. How are they going to turn the men against each other?
Oh, and by the way, just to be clear, not as a like a fetishization chaser kind of way, just because he finds her attractive and he's hitting on her like he would any other woman, because she's a woman just like anybody else.
They're going to turn the men against each other by switching partners.
Okay, you literally said before this is turning women against men, but now you're saying it's turning the men against each other. Yes, you're right now. You were incorrect before. Great.
They're going to get together, and Barbie is going to be with Ken, classic Barbie and classic Ken. They're going to be together, but then they're going to move on to the other Kens, and the Kens are going to start fighting each other over the ladies because they're going to switch over. Now, not to put too fine a point on this, but this makes no sense at all. Because guess what would happen if a bunch of beautiful women decided to switch to other men simultaneously? You know what the men would do? They would throw a party. So they turn the men against each other, and then we.
No, they wouldn't. First of all, they were throwing parties with the women too, but no. Wait. What was? Hold up. What?
20 men simultaneously. You know what the men would do?
Let's go back to that.
If a bunch of beautiful women decided to switch to other men simultaneously, you know what the men would do?
No, they wouldn't. If your partner just left you for another dude, I mean, maybe if another chick was joining you, like to take her place, and everyone was just switched. I mean, look, that sounds like the start of an orgy to me. But or you're at least like a bunch of swingers swapping partners. Like, hey, you do you. But no, they probably wouldn't have a party if just all of a sudden this person you care for is like gone and you get like this other person that, yeah, no. What if you don't like them? Not all the Barbies were hot. Most of them were, absolutely, but not all of them. God, imagine like being with perpetually pregnant Barbie. No, especially as someone who doesn't ever want kids and pregnancy. Like, I have an extreme aversion to it. Absolutely not.
They would throw a party. So they turn the men against each other. And then we get a 20-minute long segment of the Kens fighting each other using various implements ranging from like...
It's not 20 minutes long. It's like 3 to 5 minutes, and then it goes into a really good song called I'm Just Ken, which is a very good song.
Small bows and arrows with sticky cups at the end to tennis rackets. And that turns into a musical number. What does any of this have to do with the plot? Nothing.
I really like that part, by the way. This shit right here. I'm just Ken. Where I see love, she sees... So, heart. For where I see love, she sees a friend. Stabbing himself in the heart. I love her. Like, that's my heart. She stabbed me in the heart because she only sees me as a friend. He's a simp. He's been friend-zoned. He wants more of a relationship with her. She doesn't, and he can't accept that.
What is any of
And because of that, he's so hung up on her, he can't move on and find someone else or anything because he's hung up on her. It's actually a really good message for dudes, too. Don't hang up on one girl. Because, like, bro, there's plenty of attractive women out there. Plenty of beautiful women that would be happy to be with you. As long as you're, like, you know, a good dude.
This have to do with the plot? Nothing. Literally nothing. It's just a 15-minute digression because they wanted to insert a crappy musical number with not particularly good...
No, it's explaining his inner thoughts. His character development. Ben, did you even... All right.
Dancing. And then what are the women doing during this time? The women are voting. The women are voting. So now we know the Democratic turnout strategy. The Democratic turnout strategy in 2024 is going to be to get all of the Republicans to fight with one another using tennis rackets while they go and they do the voting, apparently.
Ha.
So they go and they vote. After they vote, they reestablish exactly basically how it was. The matriarchy. The matriarchy is reestablished.
No, it isn't. Ben. All right.
And Ken, who is now really sad because he's lost his power, and all he wanted in the first place was just to be treated decently by Barbie. Is he treated...
He didn't want to be just treated decently. He wanted to be in a romantic relationship with her. She didn't want that, and he didn't know how to accept that. And he still doesn't at this point. He'll get there.
Decently at the end by Barbie? Of course he isn't. That would be silly. At the very end, he is told that he needs to learn to live without Barbie.
I just don't know who I am without you.
You're Ken.
But it's Barbie and Ken. There is no just Ken.
He, who was literally created as a doll to be with Barbie, he needs to learn to be apart from Barbie, and she needs to learn to be apart from him, because atomistic isolation and loneliness is the best way to find fulfillment, ladies and gentlemen.
Not atomistic... No. Okay, I'm going to push back hard on this, because this is actually a really, really good message. You cannot be loved by somebody else until you love yourself. Like, people that have things going on in their life, that are confident, that are self-assured, all that stuff, those people are attractive. Ken, physically, extremely attractive dude. But that's not enough. Because yeah, he's extremely attractive, but he doesn't have... Internally, he's not right. He's extremely physically attractive, but he's not internally attractive. Anybody can see that he's physically attractive, but internally, he's got some work to do. And that's a really good message, because, like, yes, physical attraction is extremely important, but so is, like, when you do self-improvement as a man or anybody else, yes, you want to work on yourself physically. You want to make yourself more attractive and all that. That's great. But you also want to work on yourself mentally. And this is actually a really good message. If he just, like, ended up with her in the end, that really wouldn't be great. If they want to do that for, like, the second movie or something, I'm not opposed to it. But at this point, he didn't do the work to have earned her love and respect.
It'll be best for Ken if he never sees Barbie again. It'll be better for Barbie if she never sees Ken again.
Well, if they're not on the same... Yes, okay, yes, I will say this. If you are with somebody and you both want a different type of relationship, you have a friend and you see them as more of a friend, more than a friend, and they only see you as a friend, for example, yes, it is healthier for both of you to just remove yourself from each other's lives. If you can manage to just be friends, that's great. But if you're going to have to lie to yourself, and every time that they talk about another relationship that they have or anything else, you're just thinking like, it should be me with her. It should be me with them. Like, then you have an issue. So leave. Find someone else, someone better for you.
Secular humanism is at its finest. We've reached the apotheosis. Men and women don't belong together. They belong very, very much apart. This is all topped off by Issa Rae calling somebody a motherfucker. Again, perfect for your 7-year-old girl who loves Barbie.
It's not a fucking kids movie. And they censor fuck. Plus, it's PG-13, and you're allowed one use of the word fuck as long as it's non-sexual.
Barbie dolls. Just perfect for her. And so we learn that men and women are supposed to be separate. They are not supposed to be together. And that maybe the matriarchy will allow the men not to be on the Supreme Court of Barbie Land, but maybe they can get some lower circuit court judge.
That was it, lower circuit court. Okay, cool.
This is what we learn. And we learn one day the Kens might have as much power and influence in Barbie world as women have in the real world. Because, of course, women are again, just absolutely subjugated in the real world. You think that's the end of the movie? Wrong. This thing has...
Not absolutely subjugated, just... Yeah, men have, like, all the political power.
more endings than Lord of the Rings. So, ending number 1 is we find out that Ken is going to live apart from Barbie and he's going to...
Whoa, okay, we literally just had Roe v. Wade overturned last year. Are you really going to try and tell me that the current Supreme Court has women's interests at heart? Really?
To find himself in being Ken. Ugh, the utter joy of self-exploration. Next, we get an ending in...
Yes! Self-exploration is extremely important, dumbass. This is the problem. Like, a lot of generally conservatives hate introspection and like self-actualization and stuff like that. They're so, like, they can't do it. Bro, yes, learning about yourself, figuring out who you are, without your partner, without anybody, without anything, just figuring out who you are is incredibly important. And again, you learn to love yourself, you can be loved by others. I get it, man. I'm on that journey too. I'm trying to figure myself out. I get it. I totally get it.
In which the CEO of Mattel, who's been completely sidelined. You remember the CEO of Mattel? Remember he was supposed to be chasing them into Barbie Land for no apparent reason?
He is a side character. Of course he's been sidelined.
So he's now in Barbie Land. We don't know why he's there or what he's there to do, except that we need Will Ferrell in the movie to provide no laughs. He doesn't provide any laughs. So he shows up.
That isn't true. There were definitely, again, only a few, like 10, maybe 15 people were in the theater that I saw this, but there were plenty of people laughing throughout.
His motivation throughout this movie has been completely inconsistent. He started off wanting to put Barbie back in Barbie.
Including with some lines that Will Ferrell, I think he got like a huh out of me one time even.
Barbie Land, so that they can make money. And then he is told at one point that when Kens have taken over Kendom, they will make just as much money. He's like, no, that cannot be. I'm an ideologue on behalf of women. And then he arrives, and he is told that America Ferrera wants to make ordinary Barbie, which, by the way, would sell 0. Anyway, that will be profitable. And so now he wants to make ordinary Barbie because he's back to being uber capitalist, evil capitalist. He's making money off of Barbie because, again, Mattel are the bad guys, but they're also the good guys. But they're kind of bad guys, but they're mostly the good, but they're a little bad. And so that's...
No, there's not really any bad guy in this film. Are you really that, like, consumed with black and white thinking that you think there has to be a good guy and a bad guy? There's not really any bad guy in this. There's just people who are acting with the best of intentions, but misunderstanding.
Ending number 2 at this point. So we have the Barbie Ken ending. We have the CEO of Mattel ending, where he says, we'll make ordinary Barbie, and then girls all over the
world. Wait, this isn't a fucking choose-your-own-adventure game. There aren't multiple endings. It's conclusions. It's wrapping things up. It's wrapping up story threads. It's not leaving plot holes, not leaving loose ends. It's a conclusion, Ben.
World will know that ordinariness is fine and okay. Because it's not that girls play with Barbie because they think that she's beautiful and it's aspirational. No, it's bad. Okay, so then we have ending number 3. You think you're done? Wrong. We're now 2 hours deep into this piece of shit. And we have now dug halfway to China, and we are going to keep digging. So we have ending number 3. Rhea Perlman shows up to lecture us all about the patriarchy again. You haven't heard it enough. We got to beat this sucker into the ground. We are going to take an axe, the blunt end of the axe, and we're just going to beat this thing to death. We're just going to beat it to death. So Rhea Perlman shows up because Barbie, it turns out, she spent too much time in the real world. That was the patriarchy was terrible. So terrible that she wanted to stop it from happening in Barbie Land. But now she wants to go back there because she actually learned some feelings over in the real world. So she decides that after all, this whole story was just Pinocchio, that she just wants to be a real boy.
What she learned, and this is another really good message, is that, hey, the real world isn't perfect either. But man, the experience of living, of really living, getting to experience life, the good, the bad, the ups, the downs, the all-arounds, everything. I want it all. I want to live. I want to see what that's like. As she says, she wants to be the thing that makes the ideas rather than just the idea. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah, she wants to be real. Okay. Sure.
And in what can only be termed a sort of bait and switch, at the very end of the film, just to please the core audience, which is moms and daughters, they insert a bunch of footage, I kid you not, like home video footage of moms and daughters playing. That's what it is, like people living their lives in female ways. Because Rhea Perlman is going to show Barbie what it's like.
Yeah, no, it's really cute. It's like the eyes of life through a woman. It's like a POV of womanhood, from being a mother and on, and like watching your kid grow up and everything. Because it's so funny how he opens this by saying like, oh, they hate motherhood. They're trying to teach them motherhood's terrible and all this stuff. And like, this is a celebration of motherhood. What are you talking about? Especially at the end. Like that entire thing, it's a celebration of specifically motherhood. Like, yes, being a woman in general, but especially specifically motherhood. You know, her whole point, they're like, oh, well, you know, you're going to die, you're going to age. She's like, I know. I want it all. I want to live life.
To be a human, and then Barbie is going to say that she really wants to be a human just like you, just like you. And so they hit you with the nostalgia play. At the very end, the whole movie, which should have been nostalgia and about moms and daughters, instead, the entire movie is not that. The entire movie is instead about how men are evil and terrible. And also Mattel is evil and terrible. And then at the very end, they shove in this little nostalgia play in the hope that they can buy back the audience at the very end of the film. And Barbie decides that she is going to be a real woman now. Now, when she goes, that's ending number 3. There's still one more. So when that happens, when she goes to, when she...
By the way, there were several moments in this movie. That was one of them where I didn't like full on cry, but man, I teared up a few times. There were some heartstrings that this movie really pulled. That was one of them.
Goes into this white...
Oh my god, especially at that moment. Wait, what? Goes into the white... Bro, she's in the white void when that happens.
Area that's supposed to be heaven, because the person who she's talking, Rhea Perlman, is actually the person who actually created the doll. And we're supposed to be... This was supposed to be a secret, because the Mattel was run by men, but the big secret all along is that a woman created the doll. News. It's not a secret. She was CEO of the company for 30 years. CEO of Mattel for 30 years, from like 1945 to 1975. Until the IRS caught her for tax evasion or something. The big review.
Which she makes a joke about. Yeah, no. Fuck, I don't remember what I was going to say. I mean, for one, he's like telling this out of order, which is odd. But also... Shit, I had something, but I...
Oh. She goes... That's terrible. And also Mattel is evil and terrible. And then at the very end, they shove in this little nostalgia play in the hope that they can buy back the audience at the very end. One more. So when that happens, when she goes to when she goes into this white area, this created bother with chronology, none of it matters. So Barbie is now sent back to the real world, and she is now going to experience the apotheosis of what it means to be a human woman. So we've learned early on in the movie, when she goes to the real world, she's catcalled by a bunch of the construction guys, and she says, "I don't have a vagina." Right? She, again, amazing line for your 7-year-old girl.
Not for kids. But also, yes, she does say it. And it was really funny is Ken, because he's so desperate to fit in, he's like, I have all the genitals.
Love it. So apparently, when she's turned into a real woman, she has now grown a vagina. So the first thing that she does is she goes to the gynecologist. Because ladies, the apotheosis of your being is not motherhood. We got rid of that at the very beginning. And it's not being a wife or a partner, because women are supposed to be apart from men. It is your vagina.
No, that is not what it means.
That you go to the gynecologist. Ladies, this is what makes you the most human you can be. Is that you go to the gynecologist.
No, that is not what makes It's just that she became a woman, and it's a nice little joke because and it's funny because I even knew how it ended. I like my favorite podcast channel. Okay, I don't even need this anymore, but whatever. Sunset City did a review of the Barbie movie, and it was really good, by the way. Highly recommend checking this out. But so I knew the joke. I knew that joke that was going to be at the end coming into it, and I still was caught off guard. I forgot how it ended. I forgot the joke that I heard, and like you have this bit where she's in a car, she's getting ready to go, and it's set up where it's like, okay, because she's in the real world now, maybe she's going to get a job or something, and she goes and she's making a gynecologist appointment. Something so mundane yet so human and so typically woman. It's funny and relatable. Not for me as a man, as a cis man, it isn't. But for cis women, absolutely it is. You know, and there was a thing Ben did before where he talked about it and he said, "Oh, this is actually transphobic." No, it's not. Acknowledging that there are women, many of them, you'll find, that do have female genitalia is not the same as saying all women have female genitalia or only women have female or anything like that.
Now, I could point out here that that's really transphobic. That according to the same people
Yeah, there it goes.
who made this movie, not all women have vaginas, and not all people with penises are men. I could point that out right here.
Yes.
Because it obviously conflicts with the very ending of the film. But instead, I'm going to go with this one. At the end of all of this, they've boiled down, they have a whole conversation about identity and death and meaning, right? This whole conversation. What does it boil down to at the very end? What it boils down to at the very end, apparently, is being biologically female is the only thing that matters. And that's it, kind of. That's it. Like, it all just boils down to a lady at the gynecologist. That's female power. Female power is Barbie goes to gynecologist. Which, I don't know about you ladies, but that seems like that's not like the most feminist message. That lady part.
Jesus Christ, no, that is not. It's a joke at the end to end on a funny little thing, but it isn't what makes a woman a woman.
Are the entirety of the lady. So excellent job. And with that, we end the film, and then we have the glossy, credits with a Nicki Minaj song.
By the way, really good
Nicki Minaj version of "I'm a."
Really good. This is the music video. This is not the credits, but really good. I love what they did. They actually in the credits they show like a bunch of the different Barbies from the original Barbie to they show Midge. They show Alan. They show what the actual dolls looked like, and it's really cool. I like how they did that.
Barbie girl in a Barbie world. This movie started off as Barbie, and it was Weird Barbie. It was the toy that was handed off to Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig, and they played with it too hard. They decided that they were going to turn it inside out. They're going to rip off the hair. They're going to shave it. They're going to make it ugly. They were going to put all sorts of makeup on it, and then they're going to throw it out in the public. Now, those of us who are on the right, we look at the politics of this movie, we're like, man, so it sounds like a double sandwich. It doesn't sound like a Big Mac. It sounds like a double Big Mac, right? It sounds like the plot is crap and characters are crap, and the humor like a Big Mac. It sounds like a double Big Mac, right? It sounds like the plot is crap.
Yeah, this scene was just absolutely incredible. The choreography, the set, everything, man. This was so good.
And the characters are crap. And the humor is crap. And then on top of that, the politics are crap. But you're missing the point. There's a reason this film has 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. And the reason is, if you are on the left, you can make one of the world's most boring, crappy comedies. You can waste an extraordinary amount of money and talent. You can waste some of the great IP ever created. But as long as
he's so mad that this is popular,
you slather it in a bunch of warmed over glorious Steinem nonsense, the critics will just salivate over you. They'll pretend that this is an actual good movie. So here's my prediction in terms of market. The marketing campaign for this movie has been astonishingly good, right? If you walked into this movie and you knew nothing of what I just said, what would you think this movie is? You would think that this movie was probably something like the Disney movie Enchanted, but with Barbie. It's going to be Barbie in Barbie Land, and then it's going to be Barbie in the real world, and it's going to be charming, and it's going to be funny, and it's going to be warm-hearted.
And it was all those things. But go on, Ben, please.
It's going to be vicious and cynical. And it's not going to be what morons talk about at Hollywood cocktail parties. It's just going to be fun. It's going to be a place where a mom might be able to take her 7-year-old or 8-year-old girl and enjoy themselves together, and then walk out with their arms around each other. You might think that's what it was going to be. And undoubtedly, millions of moms and their daughters will think that. That's what you're seeing at the theaters. This is why you're seeing everybody wearing pink to the theaters. It's become like a Star Wars kind of thing, right? It's an actual
I wear pink too.
cosplay of it. The number of moms who are going to take their daughters back to the theater week 2, good luck with that. Really, good luck with that. Hollywood decided to empty out its own IP here. They decided they were going to take a golden piece of IP and they were just going to smash it and turn it into Weird Barbie. And I got to tell you, this is going to have some ramifications for Barbie the brand. I don't know why Barbie the brand would hand this property over to people who clearly hate the property. In the real world, the patriarchy rules. Men are really bad. Women need to separate off from men and hate men in order to be unblinded to the patriarchy, and then they can overthrow the patriarchy and create paradise. That is
God, if that's the message that you got from this film, you really do. For one, you think in black and white, but also you don't. You think that somebody has to be like, you don't really think men and women can be equal. You think that someone has to be above the other. And you think, well, if one of us has to be above the other, I don't want to be below them. So let's make sure that they stay below us. Sorry, I had to kill another bug. Maybe it was the same one from earlier. I don't know.
the thesis of the film. Last comment. Whenever I do film reviews like this,
when did I? Oh shit.
Lengthy film reviews of movies like this, the left is always like, "Why are you taking this so seriously? How dare you take this so seriously?" Well, because this is a movie where hundreds of millions of dollars will be expended to get people to watch it. It has a heavily political message. It is explicitly designed to divide men from women. It has these negative messages directed at kids. It is supposed to be a kids movie. It's rated PG-13. It is not marketed to PG-13.
It's not. It's not for kids.
It is marketed to PG. It is marketed to moms who are going to skip the PG-13 rating and bring their daughters there anyway. It's a culturally relevant moment.
If you see trailers for something and you go to watch it and you ignore the ratings because, well, the trailers looked like it'd be fine, you're an idiot. The ratings are there for a reason.
A very culturally relevant moment. And so the entire left attempts to play the face tattoo syndrome. Watch as we take a piece of children's IP and wear its skin around like a mask, like Hannibal Lecter, and we notice it, and then they're like, you noticed it? You're obviously very upset. I find it upsetting when material that is based on children's IP and marketed to little girls actually ends up being angry feminist claptrap that alienates men from women.
It's not angry, and it doesn't alienate men from women at all.
Undermines basic human values and promotes falsehood all at the same time.
What falsehood does it promote? Again, it actually does a really good job in showing that, hey, just because you have this one thing, like maybe you're conventionally attractive, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get the girl. It can help, don't get me wrong, it absolutely helps. But not everyone's going to be into you. Move on and find someone else.
I think a lot of people can have a right to be mad. So we'll see what the income trajectory of this film is. By the way, it's just going to die in China. The overseas market for this film, good luck with the Chinese Communist government putting their kids in front of this sort of stuff. It is not going to happen. Final rating. Out of 10 Barbies. How many Barbies? 10 out of 10 being good. The answer is negative all the Barbies. Negative all of them. I honestly, just as a piece of film, this sucker goes in like my bottom 10 ever. Ever. It is that bad. Not just because of the politics. Because the plot makes no sense. Because the writing makes no sense. Because the acting, half the time, makes no sense.
I feel like Ben went into this movie wanting to hate it and just ad hoc his way through the whole thing, finding reasons to hate it as he went on.
The entire film is a dog's vomit. It is a dog's breakfast of film. So yeah, I'm gonna go with negative infinity Barbies. It is that bad. If 10 out of 10 Barbies is like the stereotypical Barbie, this is Barbie head atop the robot body made by the weird kid from Toy Story 1. That's what this is. And also, by the way, Oppenheimer's good.
Great. I wouldn't say it's perfect. I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10. But man, I don't really do ratings, but well, that's a lie. Whenever I watch things with a buddy of mine, we give ratings all the time. I would give it like a 7.5, maybe an 8, but I'm teetering more between 7 and 8, so I'm gonna go 7.5. I thought it was really good overall. I thought it was a very good movie. Thought it had a very good message. There were some things that I thought I could have done better, some things that definitely could have done worse. But overall, it was a very good movie. I very much enjoyed it. I definitely got what I was expecting for the most part. And I really do think that everybody should see it. It is a very, very good movie. I really do think it is going to be a cultural, it already is, in a way, a cultural phenomenon. And I think it's going to become even more of a cultural phenomenon and something that, again, everybody should see. It really breaks down just like, it is anti-patriarchy is what it is. It is anti-patriarchy. It is it's anti-woman hating, anti-man hating. It is pro egalitarian. It is pro love everybody. It's very humanist in general. I love it. I think it is a very, very good movie. But as I said, and I think many men especially that will really enjoy this, and people in general will find that you may have really good Ken energy as it is, but you'll find that many people like Ben Shapiro and many other critics like him do not. So, no, 100% definitely see it if you get the chance. If you want to wait till it comes out on streaming services and DVD and all that, by all means. But definitely, you definitely should check it out. I really do believe this is one of those movies that everybody should see at least once in their life. So, as always, though, these are just my thoughts. Let me know what yours are in the comments down below. Follow me on social media for more. Links in the description. Subscribe and ring the bell to stay up to date. Leave a like if you like. And if not, hope to find something you do like. Later, guys. Peace and love.